And they say, well, they leave the best for last. And this could very well be the case in this one. At these Rio 2016 Paralympic Games, it's the first day of the wheelchair rugby competition, and this inside the Carioca Arena #1. Just starting as we are over the halfway point of these Paralympic Games, and this a matchup between two nations. They're no strangers to each other. It is the reigning gold medal champions from London 4 years ago, Australia. They potentially have the best player in the world at the moment, and I think for most people they would agree with that. Ryley Batt will be one to be watching today, and you will see him in a moment's time. They take on Great Britain. Great Britain, fifth place finishers in their host Paralympic Games 4 years ago. They have different designs here in Rio to be putting that right. It's a very short tournament, and you have only 8 teams in it. So this preliminary round with 2 groups of 4, this particular group, Pool A, this is a little bit of the group of death, or the pool of death. Australia, Brazil, Canada, and Great Britain. Now, Brazil, it's their first time as the host nation in this competition, but Australia, Canada, Great Britain are all capable of getting onto the medal podium come the end of this tournament on the final day of the Paralympics. So to be taking on a heavyweight in this competition in the opening matchup, it just suggests how tight this is going to be, because only the top 2 teams from the group will go through to the semifinals. There is no extra classification match. It's the Canadian and the German in charge of this one. Pierre-Alexander Briere and Alexander Schreiner, the 2 officials. They obviously have their technical commissioner as well, Ryan Gaudette. He is the Canadian. So it's now time for the athletes who have been out warming up and getting themselves prepared. This, the first matchup, it comes from Group A. And wheelchair rugby, well, we can talk because there are many games in which to share a conversation. But this is GB coming out here in red with the white trim, being introduced out onto the floor. It has been nicknamed prior as Murder Ball. It seems to be evolving in a little bit of a different name nowadays. Some are regarding it more as combat chess with bumps and bruises, and I think that's probably fair. And sometimes, of course, a new sport that just comes in as an exhibition sport at the 1996 Atlanta Games in the Paralympics. That was just a trial at the time. The sport officially sanctioned in 1994 by the International Wheelchair Rugby Federation, and then it becomes an official Paralympic sport in 2000 in Sydney. And from there, well, it has grown in popularity. It was a sport invented by the Canadians in the 70s, 1977, evolves down into the United States and then across to Britain. There you saw the coach, that was Paul Shaw. He's a former GB athlete across 3 Paralympics in 2000 in Sydney, in Athens, and also in Beijing. There is Ryley Batt. He really is an exceptional athlete. He has such core strength, he has such determination, and he just has the spirit of a superstar. This Australian lineup, particularly because of their success in the sport, they are so affable, so agreeable, so humble, but when it comes right down to it, in the bite of a game, they are ruthless, and they will be doing their best to retain their gold medal here in Rio. Make no mistake of it. They've got experience. That man also a player himself, and he competed for Australia in Sydney and also in Athens, and then going on and coaching to silver in Beijing and the gold medal in London 4 years ago. It'll be now time for the national anthems, first starting with Great Britain.
Ladies and gentlemen, the anthem of Australia.
Senhoras e senhores, o hino da Austrália.
there really is a sense of anticipation because this tournament comes later into the Paralympic Games, and we have had so much great success, attendances, interest, and focus across these Paralympic Games in Rio. They have been an overwhelming success, but here, one of the marquee events is about to kick off, and it really is a grand stage as both of the teams' coaches come across and shake hands. This is the Australian lineup. Ryley Batt, number 3, is one that you're going to be wanting to look out for. You're not going to miss him. It's going to be number 10, Chris Bond, as well. They are the two together, and they form the Killer Bees for Australia. They've got a number of players. Cameron Carr continuing his Paralympic career as well. You see Naz Erdem, number 2, but there is Brad Dubberly, 35 years of age, a former athlete. Interesting story for himself. He was at age 12. He actually suffered an accident falling down a 50-meter cliff that led to his quadriplegia, and here is Great Britain. This is their lineup to be looking for. You've got Jim Roberts, who's going to be a handful, number 9. Equally as well, this entire lineup, you've got Ayaz Buta as one to be looking for, number 10. And there, Paul Shaw, who has been just brought in since that, by many deemed, a disappointing performance in London. He comes and takes over the mantle and is the leader of this side for Rio 2016. They are going to miss some really significant talent. Aaron Phipps, one really most notably for Great Britain, who has been a stalwart of that program, and he's not a part. He's retired and no longer taking part in Paralympic competition. And this the lineup: Batt, Scott, Carr, and Harrison to start. And Scott, he is a long-term tenured player as well. He the captain of this side. He's a 0.5, the 34-year-old. It's Ryley Batt, and he a 3.5 classified player, 27 years of age. Coggin, Walker, Roberts, and Buta are the starting 4 for Great Britain. So this is a sport that is mixed gender, and you actually, just to quickly go down, you have a total of 8 points allowed on the floor at any one time. The lowest level of function is classified with a lower number, so a 0.5 is the lowest level of function. That's the lowest classification, up to a 3.5. And the cumulative score across the 4 players on the field of play at any one time cannot exceed the numerical value of 8. So we'll see as we roll on. The bottom line of this game is take that ball and go. And you use your teammates as best as you can. There's an 8-meter goal line that they must travel across successfully with 2 of the wheels of their wheelchair inside the marking post, and you'll see those as well. Those posts are movable, so we don't need to worry that in fact it's going to be running into a hard apparatus here on the floor. They are a big part of keeping obviously the play focused, but they need to, for safety, be collapsible and equally movable, because these players will get into angles and they will come at that line with speed. It's full contact. It's a big part of the attraction of this game. And those who have watched it, that is why it gets the nickname of murder ball. But it really, that particular name doesn't give the full dimension of what is a very strategic particular sport and how they match each other up against the opposing classified players. But this, we are ready to go. It's Australia in the green and gold, and the red and white, Great Britain, set to start this wheelchair rugby tournament from Rio. We have waited. We are a moment away.
Temos os 4 iniciais da Austrália, camisa 3, Ryley Batt, camisa 11, Ryan Scott, capitão, camisa 13, Cameron Carr, finalmente camisa 15, Andrew Harrison. Instantes, Austrália e Grã-Bretanha, grupo A do ranking de cadeira de rodas dos Jogos Paralímpicos Rio 2016.
And underway as it will be taken by Australia. And they, with the possession in Cameron Carr's hand, to the other, number 3, and that is Ryley Batt. The advancement up. This is great work from Australia. They'll go across the line first in that opening score. This is Andrew Harrison. He has been here equally before, great depth. He gets the opening goal. And so that for Australia, that little long pass. And in now, this is the countermeasure from GB. They use a little bit of a backdraft there, and that will be the opening score. That is Jim Roberts. He's the 29-year-old. And so his classification for Great Britain, he's a 3.0. So he really, between him and Ayaz Buta, the two that are most likely to do the majority of scoring. Boots are trying to keep Ryley Batt under control. And they have to advance the ball quickly to get it over. They have 12 seconds in which to get it over the halfway line. They have a 40-second shot clock in which to score. And every 10 seconds, they must bounce or pass the ball in order to maintain possession, or in fact, it's a violation. Australia have called a timeout. We have 4 8-minute quarters to play in wheelchair rugby. Not a whole lot of break between the quarters, just 2 minutes and 5 minutes at halftime. And Dubberly has come across, he's got a pretty cool sense of humor, in fairness. He's coming across these athletes over the last 5 years, first meeting them in 2011 in Cardiff, Wales, and being involved in their international pursuit. But they are, well, they're just an inspiration and equally a very impressive outfit. The Australians, GB, are always in and amongst the hunt, but here is Ryley Batt. He will take it forward, and he is just going to slipstream himself all the way down, and he'll score. And he has nailed it across the line, and that'll be his opening point. So the players just getting wrapped up in each other, and they now just getting back upright again. You just see the power from Ryley Batt as he will just cut through this defense, and his speed really is his #1 asset. And he's been so dominant at the sport already. He is the first and the youngest ever to appear at a Paralympic Games. 15 years of age he was in Athens back in 2004. And he moved from a classification then of 2.5 up to a 3.5. And he says that's probably been the most difficult thing he's ever done, because it affects his floor time, his game time. Because of being a different classification, the coach has to look at his lineup differently as to how to assemble his personnel of 4 out there. But it's Roberts that has scored now twice, and he will put it on the board. And GB right top in just over a minute. They both have a couple of scores each. So Batt is going to be hemmed in. This is part of the chess, trying to take it away from him. Utah can get back and take this away from Harrison. So the way they trade off against each other, it's Batt who's trying to release himself as the higher classified player, and he will just take it to daylight and across the line one more time. He is that man that will just continue to pound that score line for Australia. And there is his running mate. That is Chris Bond. He's the other part of the Killer Bees, Batt and Bond, as it's Roberts now. A quick transition and a goal, or rather that's a try. Effectively though, the official name is just a point for each one of these scores, because wheelchair rugby is actually a combination of a number of different games. There's an element of American football in it, handball, basketball, some might even say ice hockey, and equally, as you talk about American football, well, rugby is really kind of the packaging name for it, but it is its own sort of hybrid of a number of sports. And it has really, it brings that distinction with being such physically demanding and equally with that contact element. As you're looking at Roberts, he really is the balance point and will be expected. Now coming out is Bond and Batt, and these two together as a double play, they really are arguably the best two in the world at what they do. The way they work off each other, and as now the experienced veterans that they are. Bond is 30 and Batt is 27. They could be in this sport for another decade plus, the way they have performed in the opening stages of their career. There he is. Ryley Batt will take it across the line, and he scores. Such great core strength. He's suggesting that there was a contact on the arm from the British player, and that's what he was appealing to the referee about there. And that's just putting the thought in the back of the referee's head, because it may not be that play, but it's just down the line, the slow erosion of players that are stripping at him, trying to take the ball. There is Ayaz Butat will score now for GB. And he, with his opening point of the match, and he puts it on the board. So trying to lock in the Australians. They've got 12 seconds to get it across. The scoring clock has been met. They are across, and as he said, the total of 40 seconds in this possession. The clock doesn't start until the ball has been received inbounds. You see 20 seconds on the play. This back to Bond. Bond is just going to think about it. They have to in this particular scoring area. They've got to keep moving in there. They can't occupy that for too long. And there is Ryley Batt again. He has now 4 goals. Quickly played up, and Batt's not going to chase too hard. He's going to let Roberts take this one the full length of the floor. And Great Britain are finding the measure right now of Australia, and very calm is Roberts. This is a good omen. They know that, in fact, well, Australia are favored in this matchup, but there's been a changing of the guard in Great Britain as to the construction of this team. As they say, new coach and a little bit of a revamp, as this is Bond. He'll take it all the way down, waste no time to take the score across the line. And down is Ayaz Buta. He gets himself put back upright. So Buta, he was born with Roberts syndrome, a rare condition which affects the growth of bones in the arms and the legs. So his impairment is a limb deficiency. He's a 2.5 classification as Ayaz Buta, and he's got 1 point already. The other 4 belonging to Jim Roberts. So they will really do the scoring. You've got to make sure that all of the wheels are back into the field of play before you receive that ball back. But it has been Australia who took that opening tip, who have led the scoring so far, have always been a nose ahead. But there's a contact, and the contact cannot come behind the axle of the wheelchair. And you see what happens there. They catch Roberts from behind, just right there. That's a hit and a strike. And the different players, obviously with different construction for their wheelchairs. Roberts has a wheelchair that's more rounded on the bumper and on the wings, so that he's got greater mobility. And so that will lead to a penalty to Bond, so they'll be down a player. It'll be 4 against 3 now for Great Britain. So he's just in there for a minute or less. It will be less than that. You can count on GB being able to convert. They've put on their female player, and she will get the floor. This is Coral Beatty, and she's a really thoughtful player. Excellent movement. She uses that front bumper. It's quite extended for her. Number 23 for Great Britain, and that's just to allow her to do the blocking, some of the striking, to be in the way, and also just creating just further congestion sometimes for the Australians in which to have to navigate her. So she's a lower classified player. So this, the advancement quickly. Bond will come back. He's on the floor. And after that score from Great Britain, it goes back to 4-on-4 play. And Bond again has converted it. That's his 2nd point. So 7-5. And this the contact. Looking for the exact call coming up against number 10, Bond. So it is Roberts with the goal. It is 7-6 officially, as you see there now. And GB with the responsibility in which to take it the full length to try to level this match. The advancement up to Coral Beatty. This is, oh my, it had to be taken into her possession and in control to go across that line, and she lets that one slip away. She knows it. And that's a play that she can take, but that's just the speed and the presence of the backtracking Australians. Just making her a little bit uncomfortable, feeling and hearing the noises, almost like helicopter propellers just hunching her down. And that one she just could not reach, and then you can see it again. There is Batt, who's opened up now a 2-point score in favor of the Aussies. So this lineup looking a little bit different now. Jamie Stead out there. It's up to Roberts. Coral Beatty is also an option, but Roberts is going to tuck this one, and he's going to put it to the backside. This is Stead. Stead's got to get inside that post, and you saw Bond, that was Batt actually, came back and shoved him into that post, and that effectively knocks him out of play. And even though he's been shunted by Ryley Batt, Bond is the first contact. There's Batt, who just rams him from behind like a battering ram. That is okay, that contact. It's just if you come in from the side of a player behind the axle, that is where it's deemed as an illegal hit and will lead to a penalty. And Vaughan, as you say, they are ruthless. They show no mercy, and they take that from one end and convert it, and now they're 3 points up. Vaughan's story, an interesting one as well. He's been a part of this side now, wins that gold medal in 2012 in London. But he developed leukemia at the age of 19, and that led to infection and gangrene, and then the amputation below the knee of his legs. So this, for Great Britain, the response, and it will be converted. That's the opening goal for their number 12. That is Jamie Stead, who has scored. GB, love a good party, love good international sport. They are here in great support as well as expected. So only 8 teams in this tournament, 2 groups of 4. And as I said prior, just the top 2 teams go immediately to the semifinal round as well. 3rd and 4th in each group. Both the 3rd place teams will play against each other for that 5th place classification, and the last 2 teams in each group after the preliminary round, they will battle it out for 7th. So no crossover, additional game. This is just a 5-day tournament, and you've just got to be ready to start it on time. And right now it has been Australia with just a nose ahead, just taking advantage of that opening possession, that turnover where they held GB back. And this is Ryley Batt just trying to manage the remaining seconds on the score clock, as they've got the player coming out of the penalty box area. They had 2 Australians looking to mark him. And it really is just about game management as to where the players are on the floor, where they're coming out from after the try has been scored, the point has been scored. So it's all a little bit of this strategy that we'll gather and we'll share as the match goes on. It's a timeout, though, as this is the GB really needing to have a good think before this gets further than 3 points, the advantage to the Australians. Ayaz Buta with the ball, and across this line into the offensive half. They've got just over 25 seconds still remaining on that 40-second scoring clock, and Buta just bouncing that ball, keeping it alive so he can retain his possession. Up front, and a new score for Great Britain. That is into number 4, Gavin Walker. So they're a little bit of balance to their lineup. They've got 4 different scores so far, the 3 for Australia. But this, the advancement of the ball, and Buta can do nothing about Vaughan as he takes that one across the line. Got those piercing blue eyes, and you almost feel sometimes like he's looking right through you. There's just one thing they have in mind, and that is scoring points. And it's all about retaining that gold medal that they claimed. But this, they got a silver in Beijing, did the Australians. They finished 5th in Athens, and in their hosting of the games, the Paralympics, when this officially became an event in Sydney, well, they end up finishing 2nd with a silver medal, and Roberts gets upended. He's unable to finish the play, and they do not record that as a score. So again, both Batt and Vaughan just double teaming, and they are doing their best to create carnage and destruction. And Roberts thought he was going to get across the line. He was just a nose away. And then he's upended, so needing the support to get back upright again. And it's a little bit different. If you've been watching wheelchair basketball, these particular wheelchairs are heavier. They're heavier because they take so much more contact. They're designed differently to protect the athletes, because if you're coming in at the speeds that they are, look at that. That's basically, it's a little bit of a car crash, isn't it? Where you're forcing your way through. So these chairs need to protect the athletes equally. They have more metal on them. They have more weight, and therefore getting upright isn't as easy. So it's a combination of mobility, the design of them, but equally they're like little tanks that they need in which to protect themselves. And it will be up to Roberts across the line. He'll score. So this back and forth, Roberts feeling a little bit frustrated, and although it's only the score line that we see, you only get 1 point for each score, so those effectively 3 different possessions that they need to take advantage of. And you just see how quickly they power across the line. It's 4 now with that score from Bond, and that's tough against a world-class side like Australia. And they know that even early in the match, GB. Advancement, Ayaz Buta, he gets past the first man, but Roberts is right up against Bond. He'll have to spin back, and he goes into the teeth of this defense. He's trying to get the Australians to turn the opposite direction so he can just take an easy score, but nothing is coming easy right now. As the double B's bookend this goal line for Australia. The pass to the backside for Ayaz Buta, and he will score. He's across the line. So the good feed, advancement, and the keeping an O's for one another as double digits for Great Britain. This competition, or this particular venue, 14,500 is the capacity for wheelchair rugby. It has been the home for the men's basketball tournament during the Olympic Games, and also the men's and women's wheelchair basketball competition that has now gone on in the tournament. They've gone on to their quarterfinals and now into their knockout stages. So they go to the Rio Olympic Arena, setting the stage for this to be the only venue for wheelchair rugby in the Olympic Park in Rio. And it's been a timeout now called by GB with 50 seconds. And Australia are feeling good about what they've been able to create and what they've been able to execute so far.
Temos 30 segundos solicitado pela Grã-Bretanha. 50 segundos para o fim do primeiro período. Austrália 14, Grã-Bretanha 10.
Seven goals so far for the 27-year-old. And when you read down his list of achievements and what he has done in the sport, it really is, he's kind of a one-off in what is a young sport. The Paralympic Games started in 1960. This comes in 40 years later officially in Sydney. So it's really at its pioneering stage still, 16 years in, and he has been the shining light of the sport, most dominant player of his kind. But Great Britain have scored. It's another point for Roberts, but it's timeout for Australia. But to read down for Ryley Batt, named the best 3.5 class player at the 2016 Canada Cup, that was in British Columbia, received the Order of Australia medal in 2014. And then it's just the most valuable player across all the tournaments that he's participated in. And then he's had the opportunity now to be a gold medalist, a silver medalist, and he's right in the height of his career. And will be looking to lead this side right back to that medal podium again. You mentioned it's really interesting how he commented on that classification from 2.5 up to a 3.5, how that really affected how he could play. And that was as a teenager, 15 years of age, when he was in Athens. Beverly has come across, so they have to equally submit their line changes. You see the cards in his hands there, just making sure that it's clear. There isn't any language barriers, that the bench officials understand who the personnel that he wants on the floor will be. This one will get away. And it's a pass inbound from the Australians. So now Great Britain, and you see the hands going up amongst the Australians. At this now, it'll be taken by number 4 for Great Britain on the inbound. And that, of course, that is Gavin Walker. Puts it into, well, he's lost his wheel. And that's going to be tough. So it looks worse than it is. They still do have caster wheels. You just look there, the orange ones, that'll just pop your wheel right off. And he's still fine, but obviously the bigger wheel, they move quicker with less effort if they're using that. And it will just, as it comes on now, just inch above those caster wheels. And you see as well, Buta with a little bit of a smile about it. You almost feel half naked when you lose your big wheel. So the inbound now again for GB. They just allow that as one of those technical timeouts. They'll roll out of this one if they can. This score needed, can they get it across? They cannot. And Batt, that just went beyond the line before he touched it. And you see the conversation going on between Buta and Walker. Yeah, Walker's frustrated about that one. He's the 32-year-old, a 2.0 classified player. He equally knows. So you took it though. Look at those two chances for Great Britain. The one earlier in the matchup to Coral Beatty, and that one into Walker. It's a one-point game, and that really is the difference in these matchups of the top nations in the world. Ryley Batt, he is ultimately a battering ram, but he will have to give that one up before the sounding of the horn at the end of the first quarter of play. It's Australia who were expected to start well. They have done so. They forced a few mistakes from Great Britain in that opening quarter, and they will claim the first lead of the match at quarter time. It's 14 for Australia, Great Britain 11. 3 more quarters coming up. Just a 2-minute break between these as both sides will just warm up their tires like Formula One cars as they have a timeout and a breather. The match stats so far, defensive fouls, they both claim one of those apiece. The penalties really not a factor in it. And the flagrant fouls, not so much an issue. There is one taken by the Australians, but they'll give those up sometimes in order to just make sure they're letting their opponents know that they are there and they'll be there all day. It can become a game, a little bit of intimidation as well. As not every player as is willing to get involved in the physical stakes that comes with wheelchair rugby. And there, the long play, some of the looks at the advancing passes. Just about trying to take the easy points when they're available. Both sides did that, but Australia just a little bit better in the opening 8. And there again, confirmation of the score. It will be Great Britain with the inbound as the Australians took that opening tip. So they move it into Roberts, and they think about if they want to attack this defense, it's just lying in wait for them as a group of 4, or do they want to try to spread them? Batt is out there, Naz Erdem as well. And they have Jason Lees awaiting this on the near side. Jaden Warren, some new blood to this Australian lineup. He's a 3.0, 22 years of age. So this into the youngster. So he will run this one as best he can. Here he comes, Jaden Warren. The offload into Ryley Batt, and he just explodes on the on-ramp. Takes this one again across the line. And he makes it look quite easy. I think those that maybe are just watching this for the first time realize this is quite an easy game. But easy doesn't necessarily, as far as maybe a simple game is not easy. I think those are two different things. Simple, yes it is. Just take that ball and go. But it becomes complicated because a lot of the battle goes one-on-one against the power of the opposing athletes, trying to outthink them. And then you've seen a couple of those drop ball opportunities that if you don't convert those, well, you end up just putting a lot of pressure on yourself. There is a lot of room with 4-on-4 to try and make it all the way up the length of the floor, but this is some of the obstacles being put in the way by GB. They couldn't quite find enough of them, or equally big enough for Ryley Batt again. He will score. So he's on 9 goals already. And Roberts out there. This is some good movement from Jamie Stead. He'll take it right across the line. And he's just going to pop it in. And there the score. We've seen it this time from number 4, Gavin Walker. He's pretty calm about things. You saw the exchange that was going on between him and Buta. That's just intensity, wanting to win, wanting to be as perfect as you can be. Batt, you need to catch him early. If you don't, he'll give you trouble. Roberts will reach in. He's popped it over. This to Jason Lees. The offload to Warren. That's a great play from the Australians. You think you've got him boxed into the phone booth, and they have already had a prepaid card and made the call. It is Jaden Warren who scores his opening goal. Roberts with some daylight in and behind Batt. Batt will just toe in behind him as he accepts that Roberts will score another one. So there, now with 8. So, but it's the other secondary scoring that is coming from Australia right now. Chris Bond has 6, and they haven't got that, GB. Need a little bit more if they can get it going out of Ayaz Buta. Here is Ryley Batt advancing it up to Warren. Now he's becoming a little bit of a secondary threat. He has his second point. He equally has a pretty snazzy hairdo too, as he's sporting the black headband. But this will be Roberts to take it all the way down, and he'll score. This leaves that there on the floor. And calmly, he has taken care of the business that he has been asked to perform so far. Almost GB forcing Warren out of the court again after it had been inbounded. They need to catch him early. Batt will just open up this right wing, and then he's now just on rails. Oh, that really is pretty. It's the speed, it's the wavering, it's the slalom, and it's the timing, where you almost want to see Great Britain just throw on the brakes, but because they don't know which way he's going to go, they keep moving, and then he just slips in behind you, cuts back across, and there really isn't much they could do about it. But that's a better point taken there by GB. And so Jamie Stead will just put that through. The give and go to Jaden Warren. So he has come out here and replaced Bond in a sense with Ryley Batt. So he's at 3.0. And the classification of Chris Bond is at 3.5. So just make a few adjustments with their lineup, and that's their double trouble right now. Here he comes again. And Batt at the end accepts that he's not going to be able to get to him in time. And instead we'll just put that one across. He's the 22-year-old, so some new look for Great Britain. As we talk about, Aaron Phipps was an outstanding player for them that has since retired. And you see that, I think Batt goes out there. This is going to be Great Britain's ball. It will be. And Batt sort of challenging it, but that had already happened. So we haven't seen, there you're looking at number 22. That's Chris, or rather that is Matt Lewis on the bench. He's a 3.5, so he's another option for Australia. So this is huge. This will bring this, when he goes across the line here, Roberts has got it within 1 now. And Roberts quoted before the tournament just talking about how he was really attracted to this game. The possibility of physical contact really appeals. It's a huge part of wheelchair rugby's appeal, he says. He says sometimes the way the Paralympic athletes can be treated, they get mollycoddled. So this is contact. Sabini drew him to it. They sometimes try to wrap you in cotton wool a little bit if you're in a wheelchair. This is not a game for that. And so you got to admire that spirit, that vigor. I think everybody can't help but sort of appreciate athletes that are wanting to maybe put themselves in harm's way and willing to take the bumps along the way, sacrifice a little bit in order to reach their end goal. Of course, for Great Britain, it's to get on the podium. And rather than saying a gold medal, I think it's getting to the podium first. To come from 5th to 1st in one tournament would be a really significant turning of the guard for GB, but it's not impossible by any means. Jordan, there he is. Jaden Warren puts it across the line again. But there really is a handful of teams, it's the Americans right now, that have been ranked as number 1 overall coming into this tournament as far as their play in the last 4 years in the Paralympic cycle. But flip a coin. It's going to come down to these little points in a match where it's 22-20 for Australia, and Roberts is going to have to architect another score here. But then it's the defense that we haven't seen quite enough of yet from Great Britain. They need to employ that. The feed inside and going across the line with the wheels before the ball had arrived is what the violation is there being called by the official. So you have to be in control in those areas, first of all, before you, well, with the ball, rather, before you go across the line. So you'll see the players trying to force you out and push you out before you receive that ball for that exact reason. So you've got to be able to hold your area and hold that strength in your chair. Ryley Batt, as a result of that defensive stance and benefiting from the no score, he'll want to increase it back to 3 again. He's 1 against 2. I almost feel like he's going to just bunny hop over both those two defenders. He's capable of great things. He does a 360 jig, and this, he's run into his own player. He's got lots of time still. But you see them just there opening up a little bit of room, and there is Ryley Batt. You saw the screen being formalized. They can't go into that scoring area for longer than 3 seconds. So the defenders could be in there, but the offensive players, so that works and makes sense, because if you have all of the 7 players without the ball in there, it gets to be pretty tight quarters. But this will be Great Britain to take it on the way back, and they score, keep it within 2. And 3:20 remaining in the opening half. Good contact there. But the overload and then the overlap is into the hands of Bond. So 3 points again, clear. Good power move from Roberts, just a spin. He had a lane down the backside here, or on the near side of court. But he just took advantage of it. There's no sense wasting any time. They can get a stance here. This is where they need to do their work early. And you see the screen already coming in. They're now going to stay with Batt, and then you've got Bond in behind, and it really is a thankless task, as he's just going to score again, use the space available to him. Up now for Stead. He's really going to have to get going once you got Batt on you. He'll stick his hand in there too, pop it out. You can do that, just dislodge it. Now it's a race. He's got behind, he's going to strip it right off him. And boy, he's thirsty and hungry for that ball. He's going to score it. You see him just clenching to himself. That's just bulldogging. That's straight bullying your opponent, and which is totally allowed in this game. You put that ball in your lap in hopes that you can protect it. You can't lock it down. But you see that bar there across as Batt just holds it in that area as you do all of the powering with both of your hands and arms. And really it is almost like a little basket in there. And it wasn't quite concealed well enough by the Briton, and he just sticks the knife in and jars it loose. It's a different chair. If you look at what Batt's got, he's got that crossbar up front. That's not what Stead's got on his. So just, Stead is a lower classified player and a different design chair for him. He's a 2.5. So he's got maybe a little bit of a longer bumper at the front, pretty much similar in fairness, but he just prefers that style, and that just suits his characteristics. So looking for substitution of personnel. There's going to be the penalty. It's a foul against Chris Bond. He's no stranger to the penalty box. He goes in there and limbers up a little bit, so he's in there for a minute or less. It generally is almost an automatic. I can't think of a time where I've seen the team not score with the 4 against 3 advantage. And you see the British player, Coggan, is waiting for him. And that's just to disrupt him, getting back onto the floor, because he'll come and probably be the inbound here in a second from Roberts. So it's just to mark your opposite number, making sure that they're back, just making sure you're keeping a track on them, because once you allow Australia to get their wheels rolling underneath you, just like this right here, they're very difficult to stop. Batt would just punch right into Roberts and then just propel himself off. And you see, it's a pretty free score across the line. Now Roberts going to do the same. Coggin with the screen coming in. This, the big bashing hit from Bond. He almost pops Coggin right out of his chair. And then Roberts, he's going to throw on the brakes here. Bond has done some good work. So much exertion going on there from Bond just to be able to provide that. And it's a player leaving the field of play, so all of that good work, and I think that was Coggin that was shunted out by Batt. So off of everything that was going on there, one-on-one between the two higher point players on the floor, in comes Batt and just pushes one of the lower classification players right off the floor. This has been sent the whole way. Here it is, a Naz Erdem. Naz Erdem will pick that up. Oh, he won't score though. He doesn't bring it with him. And that was not intentional. You see his frustration. He's not happy about it. He's got the full welding gloves on there. He just couldn't hold it. I'm not sure if he had enough feel, and that's frustrating, isn't it? It was in his lap, and he just turned to look away. He was sensing the pressure coming from the British athlete, and it just wasn't securely enough in his lap. And so that's another point about Batt's chair. He's got that crossbar across, and then you don't see it with any of the other, and that's just how he has been able to get his chair constructed. That makes it a lot easier. Of course it does, where you're not having to worry about the possession of that ball so much. So there was contact made. Where will the foul be assessed though, the penalty? And so they're looking to call a timeout. So the Australians will benefit from that. So the athletes in this competition can have impairments in their lower limbs, also in their upper limbs as well. You see there with Ryley Batt, with his digits on his right and left hand, he wears the glove. The glove is, of course, just to reduce the friction of all of that pounding and constant driving of the wheelchair. So everybody really, for different reasons, wears either gloves, full gloves. He goes with just the small sort of latex gloves at the end of his fingers and protecting his hand, but more for grip, because their hands are full of stickum by the end of the matchup. This is Roberts working to try to open up some room here. He's got Bond and Batt just giving him a headache. And can he get in? The feed, they could back it across the line. They could do it just the same. And there is a little bit of the moonwalk. And they needed those. That for number 22, that is Chris Ryan, the captain. And it will be turned over. They're not going to be able to convert it as quick as they would like, but it's back within 2. And not giving up an easy point there at the end of the first half. That's important for Great Britain, just to keep things within check. So it's a 5-minute break here at halftime, but officially it's Australia 27, Great Britain 25 at halftime in the wheelchair rugby. And the stats so far, defensive fouls. Been a little bit more aggressive in those situations. They've turned the ball over as well. Have Australia. The steals, they had that one. You saw it as Ryley Batt just put his hand in and was trying to force it out. They've taken 5 penalties. So still there, within 2. GB, of course, maybe would love those couple that look to be easy conversions. You could say that about Australia as well. Erdem had that chance there to go across the line. It didn't work. You see the taping going on the hand of Ryley Batt. He just wants a little bit of freedom for this halftime. We'll pause for a moment. It's the third quarter coming up right back at us. So the crowd nicely getting into it in Carioca Arena at number 1. And Ryley Batt has locked and loaded. There you see how warm it is in here. It is getting warmer in Rio, there's no doubt of that. And the winter season from June through to September, we're just coming out of that officially, and it is getting hot. But it is hot already in opening day of wheelchair rugby indoors. And it's Australia 27, Great Britain 25, as we're just about to start the third quarter. It will be Australia with the opening possession. Bond into Batt, just awaiting for the receipt of the ball from the referee. The horn is sounded, and GB awaiting in the weeds down in their scoring area. It will be Batt, very deliberate, thinking about how they want to try and open up this 4-pack of British athletes. Bond is an option. Batt, though, can just barge right through. And have they given him the score? Seemed like the whistle had blown. And they will give it to him. But it's a little bit of hesitation there. So 8 meters he's got in which to get it through those 2 posts. Offloaded to Ayaz Buta. Buta can give some more offense. This loaded in, well taken by GB. And into their number 22 again. Been a reliable threat, Chris Ryan, with the last couple scores for GB. So that now, particularly with that opening possession, they've had their nose in front the whole time, have Australia. This man has led the charge. He's got 13 goals so far. And he, in the gold medal match against Canada 4 years ago, of 61 points they scored, he was well over 35 in that game. So it just shows you what he can do in any individual matchup of overall points. They're going to count it. He is inside the post. Both his wheels go across, and he has full possession of the ball. So Batt's story. Well, his ambition, of course, is to win another gold here in Rio, but he was born without the use of his legs. So it's a different story for every one of these athletes, whether it's by acquisition or whether it's innate. They all have the same opportunity now. So born without legs and then underwent an operation to separate his fingers. He began using a wheelchair at the age of 12. And by 15, he was at the Paralympic Games in 2004 at Athens. Dubberly, he's been down that journey as well, though, but his impairment coming from an accident as a 12-year-old. They'll just wipe off the ball, make sure that it's as clean as possible, and that we will be underway again. So, of course, the perspiration from the athletes can cause an issue, but the secondary scoring right now, Bond providing a little bit more. That's reflected in the scoreline, but it will be Roberts to take it the full length of the floor. So every Paralympic cycle and the personnel utilized in your team, you have a nucleus of a program and obviously interchangeable parts and a few different components this time around for GB, as it will be Bond who will just power that one across the line. Very easy score. And that's what these two guys can do. And everybody will know about them in this competition. There's no surprise that they are just going to come at you with a two-pronged attack and just utilize their other secondary parts. But they just fight fire with fire and just try to outmuscle you, and don't even really have to be overly considered. They just play a power game, speed as well. Batt takes it into his possession. The offload up to Bond. And as soon as one has it, the other one releases. If they see that one is in trouble, then they will come in and try to pop the opposition off of them so that they've got movement. As good an ally as you could ever want to have. A wheelchair rugby teammate. Roberts tries to pound an opening. He's got that. The advancement up to Ayaz Buta. He could use with just getting himself rolling. He protects the ball across the line. Bond reaches in, but that for Buta just his third goal so far. 15 to Roberts, and there's 4 now to Jamie Stead, so just need to keep coming with that, Great Britain. Ryley Batt, the full length of the floor, weaves and winds his way for another score. Roberts up to Buta. He's going to get hunted down, though, 2-on-2. The 2 higher classified players from each respective side involved in this little interchange, and it's going to lead to having to come and think about things a little bit differently. 15 seconds on the scoring clock now. Buta with the last man coming in. Can they come off the end here of Coggin? Coggin provides a screen there. Just wait for the right movement of personnel into place. And that brings about another score. But it's whether or not they can defensively execute here now. It's early that you got to get to Batt. He is up and gone. And across the line. So we talk about the employment of that crossbar for Ryley Batt across his chair. Because he's born without legs, he has a little bit more room. Obviously, legs would elevate the ball in his lap, and so he's able just to have that in a position, and that's a big part of why it's obviously legal and allowed. Not every player utilizing that. But this, you see where the crossbar is for Buta. He's not quite as big, so he elects to just utilize the construction of his customized chair too. So every story a little bit different as to why the chairs are designed as they are. Bond's chair is basically a carbon copy of Batt's. He will take the ball back. This is just a straight execution and display of power. He'll score another one. So 11 for Bond, 17 for Batt, and then 3 other scorers, Warren and Harris. So just the 2 others, rather. And Roberts, now that takes him to 16 officially. Buta with 5, Stead with 4. And they do have Ryan as well as Walker on the scoreboard for Great Britain. Batt, just a little bit of an impediment there. He finds a way around an angle, forces his way through for another score. And it does look a little bit easy for him. I think easy's maybe can be seen as a casual word, but it almost is as though he could just score at any point. Just one against an entire defense. That's the nature of his dominance in this particular sport. Down is Buta again, needing some support. He gets himself back and upright. And Bond, who has been in the penalty box a couple times today, he's just awaiting the chance here just to inbound the ball. So that, you're just seeing, they're trying to clarify just whether or not there was a penalty on the play. It's been changed over, and this into Batt. He protects the ball. He's got 3 Brits on him. He's got Roberts waiting. This could be turned over. Roberts going to try to get to this one here. If he can, Bond, who is able just to hold that in. That's a big moment where just right to the edge of the cliff, Australia just do enough to be strong, and Roberts is trying to force his way. They're trying to shunt the player out, and that is the British player who gets moved out of play. And so again, that's just the smarts from Australia. Just forcing out the British defender. In this case, it was Roberts. And as Batt arrives late, it brings about the reintroduction of a 40-second shot clock. And Bond trying to get it. So They're suggesting that's a violation against Roberts because he goes across the line when it was still in play and a possibility for the Australian point. And they deem that as a penalty, even though it's Batt that forces him out. And that's the hard part of it. So they're going to try and just take the precious seconds off the clock. Again, just awaiting, making sure that they've got Roberts controlled coming out of the penalty box and keeping a watchful eye on him. And so this lead now has split to 4 points. You see his shadow, Roberts. It comes in the name of number 10 from Australia. And if it's not him, it's that man there, Ryley Batt. So they just are ruthlessly just keeping track of the British player Roberts, and it will be coming in. Coggin, Walker, as they turn this over, it goes off of the hands of Great Britain, and Batt just making sure just to hit Walker in time so that he couldn't try and recover that ball. You're seeing just a little bit of a further opening in this scoreline develop. Circling around, waiting, almost like a shark, as to when he wants to strike and bite this goal line. He does it right there. Again, just using his intention. But his core strength, Ryley Batt, is phenomenal. You see some of the videos on YouTube of him and his journey, surfing, doing most everything. He's an Australian farm boy. And this now the chair for Walker, just getting adjusted and making sure that he's totally comfortable. He makes the inbound. It's a soft one into Roberts, but immediately Roberts is going to have to work against the double Bs. And this for Roberts, this is impressive. He just wins a wheel race all the way down the length of the floor. And that is just all upper body strength and just pounding with each touch to propel himself forward. Good contact there. I've seen a lot of that so far in this match. You see most of it coming from Ryley Batt, just trying to force British players either out of play or unlock them a couple times against one of the Australians so that they could make a passing play or at least create some motion. There's a big hit as Bond and then Batt just runs Roberts out of room. He's going to get over the line, and that's exactly what's happened. You see how slight it is, just over that center blue line. And you've got to make that play, and again, it's about reduction of time and space, and Batt does exactly that.
Australia 39, GB 5 behind on 34.
O atleta britânico voltou para a quadra de defesa, portanto infração, bola Austrália. Assim como no basquete, a bola não pode voltar uma vez do ataque para a defesa.
So a timeout, and this really a pivotal part in this matchup. 2:25 remaining in the third quarter. A 5-point spread. That really is 5 possessions in this sport of wheelchair rugby, and that's considerable, particularly when you're taking on the Aussies. Right now, it needs to be move time for GB. This and what's really a 3-game tournament that sets up where you're going to sit come the end. And this group with Canada in it as well, one of these teams, GB, Australia, or Canada, Brazil probably the outsider in this group, but they're going to miss out in the semifinal position. And these games against each other, they're huge. So it's already in play. Batt telling Bond to go to the wide side, create some width to this attack, forcing out, trying to create a little bit of a channel. He's muscled his way into a position. Just holding the area. And a violation. It's the turnover, and as you can see, just the indication from Batt just talking about just how they need to maybe rethink that approach. GB need a score, and then they need a defensive steal, a block. You're going to really be hard-pressed to run Australia out of time. You're going to have to take it from them. Advanced well, and this a steal from Bond into a tight place. This is the breakaway, and this is what they do to you. They force you to have to open up to try to make plays, and then they read you like a book. And they knock that one down. It's a double blow from Double B's. They steal it and score. It's almost like a pick six in American football, particularly at this point in the match. And Batt again just exhales as they've been able to force the GB mistake. You see the referees having a discussion. So just confirming exactly what the call is coming. Roberts just waiting for clarity on it as well. He's already had 3 Australians trying to take a bite out of him, right into him. No, he's just on an Australian island right there. And there's nowhere to go right now but to patiently wait for permission to be allowed free. Well, now that Ryley Batt leaves, both of those chairs have locked up Roberts. He's going to have to fight to get out of there. He is in a logjam. And this Walker will assume the responsibilities. He bounces it to keep that 10-second clock available. Batt comes in, contact on the arm. That'll lead for him sitting down. So they're going to really need to make hay now, Great Britain, from here. They expect to score with the benefit of the extra player now on the floor. There is Batt, awaiting his opportunity to return, but it's the next defensive sequence. So Ayaz Buta, they're just as happy to keep Batt off the floor for the majority of this 40 seconds. Just so the other players have to work a little bit harder. And they also just get a little bit of a breather here. This is kind of what's happening too. Just a chance to collect their thoughts. And if they can just manage the score line, it's also 50 seconds. So there's a 40-second shot clock now available to Australia. So if they're able to come down and score, it at least leaves time for GB to have an offensive response before the end of the third quarter. Oh, that one will be an errant pass, and that's a moment that GB can build from. So that's part of the management at the end of these quarters too. So if they can convert right now, 4 against 4 with this inbound. Walker's got to make a good pass though. Roberts is going to come across for it. He's got immediately on him. They offload it, go back to Ayaz Buta, so he's on his own here. And so they will try and utilize the remaining seconds here as best they can to reduce the window of response for Australia. They want to score, and then if they could equally get another turnover, this would be a real swing. Now the score for Australia, it's a 13-10 lead in the third quarter. And Great Britain actually win that second quarter, 14-13, after the opening from Australia with a 14-11 margin in the opening quarter. So they've called a timeout. So you see the discussion going on and just awaiting for it. So the timeout, just 30 seconds, is what they're utilizing here now. And so the reintroduction of play, it's just going to be simultaneous with the game clock, this possession. So this is game management from Great Britain here. But they've got to convert. And now they're starting to run out of time. And leaving the floor, I think again, was that Walker or was that Bond? It was. Okay, so it was Ryley Batt that leaves the floor when he's in that defensive area. And if you do that, that's a penalty against. As basically what you're doing is you're disrupting the opportunity for the offense to score. And just waiting there, he's across the line with 1.3. And that'll bring Batt out onto the floor. And Roberts now working to get back so that there is no further opportunity for Australia. So a little bit of gamesmanship there, and equally just ball retention and possession from GB at the end of the third quarter. But it's a score line now after the third period. And it's Australia 40, Great Britain 36. This is the wheelchair rugby in Group A. It's the first match of the competition. So looking across the defensive fouls, the majority taken by Australia. The turnovers as well, they've turned it over more, but they've stolen it back a couple times. And then they've taken they've taken more penalties, 7-4. It's just really about their ability to control the game though, as we have seen via Ryley Batt and whoever is his number 2 running mate. They've been able just to keep their nose in front throughout the entirety of this match so far. Roberts, he's done his job. His scoring has been right there alongside. He's got 19 total points. Ryley Batt has 21 after 3 periods.
Atenção, alunos da Escola Britânica, vocês também estão aqui, tá bom? Então faz barulho aí, pessoal da Escola Britânica do Rio de Janeiro.
So just the 2-minute break between the quarters, between the periods, and now underway again. This for GB could cut it to back within 3, and they've let it just slip a little bit over the course of that 3rd period. They need this. This is lofted forward, trying to chase it down, and this is Bond, I think, is the last one to have touched it. Oh, and I think they do just call timeout. They suggest that it was touched by GB. Roberts gets to it just before the line and calls timeout to the referee as well. So they give them the benefit of that he had already expressed that before he arrives at the ball. And so that will give the inbound opportunity here. And they retain 30 seconds on the scoring clock as well. Well, that's a tight play. I almost thought as though it had not been touched, but Roberts, a better vantage point, of course. He knew that it had been touched by Walker. He had to get to it. A little bit of a cross block here from Buta. These two down low to Walker. That's a great play, and he takes it calmly in his possession. And across the line, the 32-year-old, as cool as a cucumber. And he grabs himself another point. So that's 3 now, 3 goals for Walker. As that's Coggin just getting himself reloaded over there in pit lane. Well, there was an indication of a substitution, I think, that they are forcing Australia to actually fully utilize. It's actually the timeout. So they have full timeouts and kind of half timeouts as well in the sport, as you see just them taking the rim off and the working on the equipment. That's expected to be done, of course, in these stoppages of play, but if a player does blow a wheel, they'll come out and just replace that wheel just as quick. But it has been the Australians here with the utilization of a timeout, and that's a 60-second one. So you have the fulls, those are 60, and then the half timeouts, 30. And Dubberly just releases the troops. You almost see him quite casual in it. This team knows him. He knows the team. They understand each other. And they are going to run through this man, Ryley Batt, equal Chris Bond. Chris Bond does so well. The body control is key, just the nick of time. If GB could have got to that one, that could have been impacting. But you see the moment taken by Bond. That's about speed, about power, and about a lack of fear going into the area. Plus, he's a higher classified player. He was more capable of getting to it with speed, corralling it, and then guiding his way down the floor for another Australian score. Buta, he's going to be hunted by both of them. And the advancement well taken. That's the trio of touches from GB as they move it around. So they sense that both of the killer bees are in full pursuit. They both have the same Barber, as slick as a whistle, especially when they get sweating as well. This has been turned over. Great Britain with this possession could convert it. And now you're starting to see a little bit of apprehension in the Australians' body language. See the wincing going on there. That's the sweat just getting into the eyes. As much as they tried to wipe themselves down, they had that timeout a moment ago. That is what's happening here. The temperature is increasing in Rio, and obviously it has an impact inside as well. This is a big venue, but it'll be another score for Roberts. The humidity is high, so this now within 2. This is getting interesting. They're going to have to respond. The advancement up to Bond. The passing is just too precise. And that is Batt to Bond, and another score. So in the next 6:49, we need to see consistent responses from GB, and then there's just going to be a turning point where either one of these sides cannot convert on their subsequent possession. Then it will either increase and look more under control from Australia, or things are just going to get even a little hotter in here. Turned over, I think, and it's Roberts the way he comes onto the floor. And they're frustrated, just little things right now. Unhooking the wagon of Great Britain. And these are just mental mistakes. That has just left now the chance to increase it to 4. And that's an indication of it. Just it's a case of when Australia are going to really turn the screw, and they do just again bring another point on the board. You see he almost walks it across the line, doesn't he? Lifts his one side of his wheelchair up and over the wheelchair in his way, almost hurdles it. Up to Walker. He's been pretty useful in the last few exchanges. He's taken some pressure off of Buta and Roberts to score these open points. Bond into Batt. Can he get to it? Can Buta hunt him down? Get him boxed in here. This is what GB need to execute and put the Aussie on an island and leave him to think about how he wants to navigate these British shores. But it's from distance again. He has worked his way down to a position to be able to see just how he is going to leave. And he gets on his own boat and sets sail for another Australian score. Buta with the offload. This for Roberts. He'll take it. So it's not about the score right now. Can they stop Australia? They need to do both. Score and then put up a GB wall of defense. They need to get to them early. Can't allow the speed game for Australia. There's a turnover potentially. This is outstanding. You could bump it across there with just the fist. Blocked down. Well done by GB. And this could be a turning point in the match. Buta, he has been forced. Can he get across the line? Pushed into that post though. So it doesn't get into the scoring area, and that'll switch things around. Ryley Batt shaking his head. You see just how demonstrative they are. And he's suggesting they need to calm down. And then both sides a little bit frustrated. So have they? It was a turnover out of bounds, and then Australia electing now to use a full timeout again. So as a result of not being able to get it inside those posts, you've seen that probably 3 times so far today. And again, Deberley appealing to his team. Let's take a little bit of the air out of our own inflation here, gentlemen. We're getting a little too fired up. And GB, they needed to make that count. They know it. And every point differential in these matches could also become telling, because that second position, if Australia are able to go on and be victorious in this matchup, that second position will be determined if there's a tie-breaking requirement. It'll come down to the score lines, the points for and against of the tied teams in the matches that they played. Not just going to come down to who won. comes down to that point differential, and that gets to be a really tricky one. Takes a notepad and paper for sure come that time if it's required, but it's Bond who is going to score. We would go to extra time if we were tied at the end of this one. We'd go to 3-minute periods until there is the determination of a clear victor. Roberts spinning, turning, trying to get away. The pressure ever relentless from the Aussies, but they just feel as though they've got something, GB, that they've slowed down a little bit here, and in a couple of these instances they've been just a little bit outsmarted, outmuscled. The offload, there he is. Roberts comes through with greater speed, and he scores. But can they turn it over again? That's where they were back before that timeout, and they could have cut it down to 2. They need to get to Batt now, and then the offload. Roberts, if he can get back for this one, he's not. The inside position from Bond, and he scores again for Australia. So Bond with 16, Batt 23. And it really is Roberts on his own with 22. No other player for Great Britain into the double-digit category. 4 points today. So that's an obvious area that needs development. He'll just force his way, though, through. That's a lower-pointed player who has that long bumper on the front. Almost looks as though it's got teeth on it. A little bit of a basket there that just can get into the wheelchair and disrupt, make life more difficult. But there is Bond one more time. And they've just found their wind right now. It looks as though they've got their sail up and they know exactly where they want to go. They've got their route chartered. So for Roberts, they're just as a group chatting as they're moving here, thinking about how they want to approach this defense. He'll just make an easy play around the end. And they relent. I think positioning more than anything that he had been able to find a gap in this Australian defense. In the offload again, there really is just no stopping that combination. As soon as one gets it, the other is busting to open floor. Good quick ball movement here. This is Bond and Batt with the sandwich approach. And it will be Roberts. So this now within 3. They need a turnover here desperately. GB got to push forward. And you see Buta, this is not a bad idea just to take a breather. This isn't intentional. That's just, you saw him get hit by both Batt and Bond up there in the middle of the floor, and they popped him pretty good. So they have, there you see all the wheels over on the rack behind the player's bench. Wheels will travel. They just bring them with them. There's no sense trying to fix them. You see that being done on the sidelines by their support staff. Just putting new wheels actually on the rims, on the frames, but their own customized wheels are ready just to be taken off the shelf and immediately installed. There again, strong work. That's why these chairs have to be built as they are, and they're as heavy as they are. Quick up to Ayaz Buta. He pushes himself and across the line. So within 3, this has been a story. Have they in fact let their opportunity slip earlier? This could go long. I think it's going to be strong. It's right on through. And so this is a turnover opportunity. GB could cut it within 2 here. And you see quite a bit of frustration. It's obvious. They know that things could get a little bit pear-shaped here as well. Do Australia. If this, for the red, could be converted. He throws the brakes on as he tries to just convoy him out of the field of play. Butaz. He's got some room. He's got to protect that ball. The offload in for Roberts. He'll take it. He has to have control across the line. He's got it. So back within 2. This is here still entirely in the balance. You see his hand shaking it out. He got pinched there by the wheelchair coming to get him. This is contact. And the indication from the referee. Just awaiting this call to be clarified. They bring it back, so it's a timeout for the equipment. It's Bond that's getting the attention. So he just, you see how easy it is to install them. Just pop that lug nut, and he's back rolling again. So in determining your personnel for a tournament like this, the Paralympic Games, so much more equipment nowadays, advancements in equipment, but equally in monitoring the speed, the power, the ability of the athletes. This will be taken by Batt and controlled, settled down. He'll just be calm. He wants to utilize this clock as best he can from here. Back and forth, he'll go winding and weaving, and he believes that 3-on-3, he can individually muscle his way into an area, and there he's found a lane, and he'll score. Puts it in, and he was right to believe so. So they could just be enough ahead to make this difficult to be recovered by GB, and it feels like that right now, but there's always the possibility of a twist in the tail. Butaz, the advancement up to Roberts. He's going to be one-on-one against Batt. This is just as a good and individual competition as you're going to have. The offload, the feeding, well taken. Walker's going to get hit though. He carves himself right into the heart of this Australian defense. They have time, but not a whole lot of it. They want to score quick here. This, the backside over to Walker. He should be able to convert. He does. They need to be in position to not allow this entrance pass though into the field of play. This is key. Can they execute it? They got to be able to push Batt out of the floor here. Roberts staying with them. The offload out to Bond. Can they hunt it down before he recovers it? He does just in time. He offloads. It's been turned over, and Roberts gets hit while he has it there. They call it over and back. Oh, that's tough. That's so tough on GB because Butza touches that. They were over in their defensive half. They recover it, and they just get pushed, and that comes as a result of Ryley Batt just bringing that pressure from the backside and just burying into his man. That's the frustration. Butza, have a look at his wheels. They were just across the line, and that's devastating for GB if they've given it up when it looked as though they had created. They're going to give it back to him. They're going to see it as a harsh call on replay because he wasn't really in retention of the ball, and it was really kind of a loose ball. I think that's why they give them the favor of that call. Now Great Britain with a chance here to respond. It's into Roberts in 1:35. He'll want to score quickly. Ayaz Butza on the backside. He's got to take it cleanly. He's across the line. Within, as you see, 1 point, 1:31. Have they got another defensive play in them? They've got to put pressure on Batt here. Batt is locked into an area, but he's come across the line. He's got room and he's got time, but it's Bond that they need to find. He will score again for Australia. They're 2 in front. And 1:19 remaining. This still can be played out a few different ways. The timeouts have been called more by Australia than it has been Great Britain. So Great Britain with a timeout or two still yet to utilize, and this works just fine. It's the timeout equipment, which there is no maximum to, and you're seeing a very calm look from the bench. This their coach, Paul Shaw, and he's just trying to get the attention of the players, saying if we can go up and score here quickly, we will be looking to execute a timeout. So Walker being given room all the way up. Walker will take it, and that's an impressive score. So they haven't utilized one as yet. So they're trying to get it into Batt. They've locked him up, but again, they found him. And it'll be now you have to stay with Bond. As doing a good job staying with Bond is Walker. They're getting away here. Coggin is not going to be able to control Ryley Batt in the defensive half, and he does it again. He's got a deck of cards now. 52 points is the total score for Australia. And exactly half of that, 26 right now, as you see. for Ryley Batt on the board. Jim Roberts has 26 too, but it's the running mate, Chris Bond, with 19 that has just been able to set the tempo for Australia today. And how about that? They've turned it over. They just concede that score. And Batt with the goal, and this now given right back. And in the heat of the action, that's a devastating blow for Great Britain. They pushed it here as deep as they could and took this right to the latter stages. So the turnover, as you see, from the throw in. And from here, Ryley Batt can just control this game. He's got time on a scoring clock. It's the overall game clock that matters. He'll continue just to work around. He'd be just as happy to see it all off, but he'll score, and now they're 3 points ahead. And that for Australia, that should pretty much sign it off. It would take an implosion. Roberts brings it back within 2, 10.9 remaining. They're gonna have to really get up tight from here. And Bond coming all the way the length of the floor to inbound this ball. Will just take reception of it there from the referee. You know where he's trying to get to. He's being counted on to get it in time. You see the hand going. And it right into Ryley Batt. The clock is now ticking. Australia have come out as expected as one of the favorites in this tournament, with the reigning gold medalist from London 4 years ago. They did it right in Great Britain's backyard in London, and here in Rio, in the opening matchup of this wheelchair rugby competition, they find a way. They get through to 53 points, Great Britain 51. It seemed as though Australia were always in the lead and in control of this one. It got a little bit hairy at the end there, though, with a couple of those changes of possession, but at the right time, Australia show their mettle, they show their resolve, and the green and gold are underway with a victory with their one match played, and that against one of the other medal hopefuls in this tournament. And as you see, Ayaz Buta now coming across, and just looking back, you can think of a few moments where they couldn't convert what looked to be easy points, and then just gave it up. And that is really the difference in a ball game as tight as it was today. You expect your leaders to do just that. And that's what Ryley Batt did today, providing half of the offense for the Australians. And so they lean on him. They ride their horses. And the two of them, really, for Australia, were thoroughbreds. So is Roberts. He's in that class as well. He just needed some greater support today. That's got to be tough for him as the Australians come out to the center court, the field of play, and acknowledge this crowd. It'll build as well in the Carioca Arena #1. It's a great start for the Aussies. So they're the scoring, both Batt and Roberts with 27 apiece. Bond as well. Buta with the scoring, but it was that secondary that was just a little bit deeper. A couple steals each, the turnovers, very close defensive fouls, a few more for the Australians, the penalties equally as well. But in the tight moments, they found a way, and that's what good teams do. That's what championship teams are able to do. Doesn't mean things are over yet for anybody, but it's a short tournament. And with a 53-51 scoreline for Australia and the full complement of points, that means that Great Britain, their matchup in this particular group against Canada, that will be a tight one. But this, the opening game, and the only action so far in day one of the wheelchair rugby. Australia go top of Pool A. So more wheelchair rugby to come. Hope you enjoyed the start of it. We have 4 matches a day through the 8 teams. They play every single day in these opening 3 days of the preliminary round and then into the classification and the elimination round. There is Ryley Batt, who's enjoyed his opener at the Carioca Arena #1. So Great Britain pushed the defending gold medal Paralympic champions from London in 2012 right to the wire. But ultimately, it is the gold medal pedigree of Australia that sees the opening match of this tournament as a 53-51 victory for the land down under over Great Britain.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome France to the arena.
Senhoras e senhores, vamos dar as boas-vindas à equipe da França.
Ladies
pra gente conferir o vídeo da música tema das Olimpíadas e Paralimpíadas. Aproveita, curte aí, sacode o esqueleto. Let's go! check on the details of the next match. So I'm going to call here my two friends, the announcers of this morning session. This is Max, my English announcer, and this is Daniel, our Portuguese announcer. So guys, you're going to tell us all about USA and France, ok? Então, gente, chegou a hora da gente saber alguns detalhes a mais sobre a próxima partida entre os Estados Unidos e França. Os meus amigos locutores, Max e Daniel, vão falar pra gente o que a gente pode esperar. So, Max, tell us what can we expect of the match between USA and France.
Well, as you said, USA and France, another tantalizing game coming up with France, our lowest ranked team, just with Brazil a little bit lower, a host nation, currently ranking 7th in the world. Their captain will have something big to prove after being ruled out with some controversy in London 2012. So he is going to want to stake his mark here, and nothing better than against a team first ranked in the world. USA have medalled in every single Paralympic Games since it was officially commenced in Sydney 2000. Both teams will have seen and noted the Australian win here and seen some of the nerves coming into this game. We'll see how USA against France get on coming up.
Thank you very much, Max. Bem-vindos a todos. Nós temos aí um jogo emocionante pela frente. Vou começar falando um pouquinho da França. A França, que é a quinta maior força da Europa, a 7ª ranqueada no mundo. O capitão teve uma controvérsia aí com relação à classificação dele nos Jogos de Londres 2012. Enfim, ele vem com fome de vitória aí. Só que vão pegar agora uma pedreira pela frente no primeiro jogo deles, que são os Estados Unidos. Eles que têm medalhas em praticamente todos os Jogos Paralímpicos, são o número 1 ranqueados do mundo. Já tiraram medalha de ouro em Beijing em 2008 e em 2012 ficaram com bronze em Londres. Então eu acho que eles também estão um pouco desapontados com esse bronze e vêm atrás do ouro. Vocês fiquem ligados e vamos curtir agora todas as emoções de França versus Estados Unidos.
The United States of America. They are currently the top-ranked team coming into this competition. They will take on France in the next match coming up in the wheelchair rugby. This is a mixed sport competition, although the majority of the athletes, as you'll see, are male. This is France in Group B, or Pool B rather, and the United States. They have Japan and Sweden in there as well. So the official rankings coming into this tournament, just interesting to see. It is the United States who is the top-ranked team. Australia number 2, Japan number 3, and Canada number 4 right through. Great Britain 5, Sweden 6, and France number 7. So 1 against 7, but that really doesn't mean much, because when these sides have taken on each other, it's been Japan. They were just pipped to the post by the Americans when they won in the World Championships, but it's France and the United States when they took each other on earlier this year. It was the Americans who beat France in the qualification tournament for these Paralympic Games in Rio. And so they're the officials for this one. Full smiles, the gentleman. That is Jean Joignier, the Canadian, and then Liam Costello, the Australian, in charge as the referees. It'll be the introduction of the two teams now coming up. As you see their flags in attention ready. This is the Carioca Arena number 1, the home for the entirety of this competition. And France, well, they've got a few different weapons, but really their most notable one, and it'll be coming out probably at the end of this lineup, halfway through really, is their number 9, but that is, you see, that is their number 11, Hivernat. He is their captain. And then their Newman, number 8 for them is Coramp, but it's number 9 is Riyad Salem. You'll see him in a moment. He has the very distinctive afro. That is number 5. That is Rodolphe Jarlon. And there you're going to see as well, very popular player. And it's just coming out onto the floor. That is Cedric Nankin. With the French fans, as expected, there he is Riyad Salem, number 9. That just comes into your picture. 46 years young, and he's officially the oldest player for France. So they've got some veterans on this side as well. They're an average age of 33 years of age is France, and taking on the Americans, who are just under 31 years of age as an average, but they salute their fans, and now the Americans will rise in anticipation of their team coming out onto the floor. And there you see, this is Chuck Melton. He's number 2. Number 4 is Adam Scatterow. He's coming out, but Melton, he's a 2.0, 38 years young. And this, their player, their captain, Chuck Aoki, the real number 1. He's a superstar on this American lineup, and he will be the one carrying the ball for the majority of the day. That there is Adam Scatterow coming out, number 4. On your screen right now, Chuck Aoki. There he is, the captain. He is the star. He's got the stars and stripes right across his wristband. You'll see every player with a little bit of a different styling, depending if they want to go with full sleeves, if they have gloves on. Everybody a little bit distinctive and original in what they are most comfortable with. Seth McBride's a veteran of this team as well, number 11. He's followed out there by Chad Cohn, been a part of this program, and there, number 15, Lee Fredette. The final 2 is Josh Brewer and Corey Puderbaugh are the full American lineup, and now they've been introduced to this crowd. So the Americans on the left in white, as you can see, with their flag, and France on the right. It'll be now time for the playing of the national anthems.
Senhoras e senhores, o hino dos Estados Unidos da América.
Emotions high for this one as you see both benches. And that just a moment ago, that was James Gumbert, the American coach, as both sides will come together and exchange pennants. See exactly what they've got in store. They are maybe a bell there, I think, potentially, but the real genuine moments of affection. And there you see Riyad Salem coming in. He was a member of the French wheelchair basketball team through his Paralympic days, 1996 in Atlanta, in Sydney, and also in Athens, before coming across now into wheelchair rugby. He's been seen already at these Paralympic Games supporting the wheelchair basketball and the French team when they have played. The Americans, though, they are set and ready. So we talk about them already. They are #1 ranked in the world. There is Gumbert. He's been in charge of this side now through this Paralympic cycle. But they, well, 4 years ago, they win bronze, and they have different ideas. They take on the Canadians in the Paralympic, or rather the Para-Pan Am Games in Toronto a year ago, and they come away with a silver. But this is the lineup to look for, and it is Chuck Aoki, #5, who is the most likely threat for them. Josh Wheeler is a veteran of this side. Chuck Melton, Scatterrow as well. #11, Seth McBride, equally another running mate that will go with Aoki. So you see it is Josh Brewer is another 3.5. Aoki's a 3.0 and one of the best in this sport at that particular classification. Riyad Salem is the real #1 threat to be looking for. He's #9, and he's the only 3.5 that they have. They have a 3.0 in Jonathan Hibernat, who is 25 years of age. He's the captain, and there is their coach, Olivier Hussein, and he's had a good smile already, in good spirits. The French, who in the games 4 years ago, they finished 8th in the Paralympics, and in the World Championships in 2014, since they finished 9th. So they know they will have their hands full against this American side. It's Aoki, Butler, Wheeler, and McBride who will start for the USA. So they take they've taken a medal in every single one of these matchups in the Paralympics. They're the only side to do so, the USA. And Rio will be no exception for them. They'll be expecting to get on the podium. Nankin, Chalman, Hibernat, and Salagui is the starting four for France. And Cedric Nankin, really impressive to watch him work. He really has limited use of his limbs, doesn't have hands. He has the shortened arms, you'll see that's his impairment, but really incredible to watch how he works within his wheelchair. And an infringement there off the opening touch-off as the jump ball is put up, and immediately the referees assess that it will be the Americans to have the inbound. So to set the table for how this sport is played, 4 players aside, each one of them with a classification. They have a numerical value apportioned to that, as it's going to be Aoki who scores first for the United States. And he scores, so he's a 3.0. They have a total of 8 points allowed on the floor at any one time, and that's a cumulative value of 8 points across the 4 players. So the lowest level of function would be a 0.5, all the way up to a 3.5 for the highest level of function. Advanced by France, trying to get on to the end of this one. So France in blue, just tuning in. And then the Americans with white and the American flag on the back of their jerseys there, just below the neckline. And that one will get away from France. They just try to create that fast break, and it gets forced to try and make something against the United States. You have to take chances. And they initiate the play again. This number 10, this is Josh Wheeler. And he gives it up to Aoki, and he scores now. It's twice for Aoki, the opening 2 goals for the United States. So Aoki, the university degree, a teaching university degree from the University of Minneapolis. So he's a full-time athlete as well now, of course, part of this American program, but he's a big fan of his Minnesota sports. But this for France across the line. And they will, let's try to marshal here. Salagui is just looking and through traffic here. So in this area here, he's gonna muscle. I think Aoki's got him. Cedric Nankin is gonna take that. And they're suggesting there's a violation of over 10 seconds in that offensive scoring area by the offensive team. And therefore, that is a violation. Now, the defensive players can occupy it, but not the offensive players for more than 10 seconds. So the referee counts it. He's also counting this inbound, and you've got to get it into play. If you do, it's as soon as your wheel, one of your wheels goes out of bounds, that would be a change of possession. But here they come, 12 seconds in which to get it over the center line. They've done that, the United States, and you have 40 seconds overall on a scoring clock. And every 10 seconds, you must bounce it, pass it, in order to keep play alive. And Aoki has done it 3 times now. He is carrying the mail right now for the United States, and as expected. So silver medal a year ago, well, a little bit more than a year ago in Toronto in those Pan Am Games. The competition between the 2 Americas, North America and South America. And so they come up against the Canadians, who are also measured as a side that could very well be going on to the medal podium, potentially here in Rio. But this is the first match for both of these 2 sides. And we're in day 1 of the wheelchair rugby competition. So it's starting a little bit later. That is a play. It's the defensive player that leaves the field of play, the American. And he actually comes out, just suggesting a violation there. So a change of possession, just looking for clarity on that one between the 2 officials. So it's actually Aoki who gets a foul. So it's a penalty, a defensive foul, because he leaves the floor defending the play. They see that as trying to disrupt the momentum of the offensive side. This is now the adjustment as required for the French player, Andrien Chalmin. He's a 0.5, 30 years of age. And then you're seeing now a couple players have gone in here. That is also their number 10, Josh Wheeler. So this is should be pretty easy work for France. So 2 players off. And with the 4 against 2, they're just trying to utilize the clock right now, are France, not wanting to score too early, as 2 players, Nankin and Chalmin, have come across in a position to be ready to attend to Aoki. Aoki's going to come on first with that first try and the score from France. So now it's 4-1, and now it's back to 4 against 3 out on the field of play. Here, some good work, one-on-one. 2 players just in an individual battle. Aoki just drives in late. You see all the markings on the floor and what these chairs do to the court. You can see maybe why the competition is in the second half, because if the wheelchair basketball had to come on to this court after they're done with it, well, it looks a little bit like it's been ridden hard and kind of put up wet after these guys are done. It's a rugged game, and it's obviously designed and marketed as such. It's full contact, is wheelchair rugby. So the score will be taken again. This time Butler with a 5th point for the United States. You see France really working hard right now just to get this ball advanced forward. And they do here. This is a good cut move just to open up a little bit of space. Jonathan Hivernat will circle back on himself. This is a great play inside. If they got it across the line, they do. And this advancement, Christophe Salagui, a 3.0. He's got these signature spectacles on there, as you can see, with the black rims. So he's the 30-year-old. And you're seeing just the directions coming in from the coach Olivier Cuisine. And now again, some more work on the chairs. And there's Cedric Nankin. He's ready to go again. Inbounded by United States. The pass up to Aoki. Can he get across and into some open court? He can, and he'll just take advantage of the space now being afforded to him. He's had no trouble really as yet, has Aoki. He just keeps mounting the score, and he has 5 of the 6 points right now for United States. So you see Nankin there at number 3 for France. His limb deficiency was innate. Was by birth, underdeveloped limbs. But every story different. Some of these athletes with accidents that have left them with quadriplegia, or equally, every story a little bit different. The need for amputations depending on health. And this, where they all have a level playing field again. On the wheelchair rugby field of play at the Paralympic Games. The best, the top 8 nations in the world only in this tournament. It's not very long, it's only 5 days. 2 groups of 4, and the top 2 teams that qualify through from each of these groups will go right to the semifinals. So you really need to make the most of these preliminary matches. And right now, France need a score. They've brought out their big guy. This is their number 1, Riyad Salem. He's a dual sport player, no longer plays the basketball at Paralympic level. He plays wheelchair rugby, but you can see, he's trying to make it happen, and they're suggesting 10 seconds that he didn't either bounce the ball or pass it. And it was a violation there. And effectively, it's like a double dribble, as you saw the indication from the referee. There's been a couple of those so far from France, and they just need to tidy up on that part of their game. You see these wheels can easily be just maneuvered, dislodged, and also reinforced with just the hands rather than needing tools. Keeps the game rolling. And there on the bench, they will just redress the rim with another inflatable on it. More rubber. This now for United States again. They continue to threaten, and this is Batt. Incredible story for him. He was born in Eastern Europe, and he was an orphan, and has found his way to the United States, and now competing at the Paralympic Games. This is Riyad Salem. So a great score from Salem. He gets himself going. And that's his first goal of this competition. This is Aoki spinning, trying to get away from the pressure. Where will it come from? The feed is now central, and the Americans, again, just too much room. And the passing game effective as it's offloaded there by Batt. That's his 2nd goal now. So strength in numbers and in depth available to the Americans, and you're seeing that already with the reflection on the scoreline. They're up by 5. So 4 8-minute periods played in wheelchair rugby. And this more deliberate now from Riyad Salem as he's just addressing how he wants to attack this defense. Every chair a little bit different in their design as well. He obviously prefers with the greater mobility. He's going to come across. He should be able to muscle his way through there. So with the reduced size of the bumper and also the wings on the chair, it gives that greater mobility. Some of the lower classified players having that longer bumper, and it almost has a little bit of an intended disruption on the end of their wheelchair just to get in the way of the higher classified players, try to lock them up, strike them, and equally hold them with that front bumper. That's got to get hot after a while, you would think. It's been warm in here, and it's getting warmer outside in Rio. Just leaving the winter season in the southern hemisphere in this part of the world at this latitude. As it has picked up even since the Olympic Games. It's got warmer, and equally the days a little bit longer. But for France right now, they'll just try and open up a little bit of room. They haven't got the same speed in transition displayed as yet that the Americans have been able to employ, but this will get into their most reliable pair of hands as he will just work from every which angle to try to open up this American defense. He's done it. What body control, what strength to get it round inside that right post. And he's found another score. There he's got 3 now. He's just keeping this game in check, and that was the decision to bring him in. He didn't start this, but there again, Puderbob is just finding it a little too easy on the transition. And he scores another one for the United States. The Americans love their sport and an opportunity to support their side, the wheelchair rugby, at these Paralympic Games in Rio. They've been quite a story. Maybe not expected to have the interest or the overall attendances, but it has been nothing but a success story in South America, both the Olympics and particularly the Paralympic Games. And Puderbob, again, he is the preferred option to get it up to him. So this, a first look at what he can bring to the table. He's 20 years of age, and this is an opportunity to shine on the world stage. And Aoki just keeps finding him, and it's pretty calm work so far. Riyad Salem, pretty wide body, but he's nifty and nimble as best you can be, and he gets it in. Have they got control of the ball, though, before they go across the line? Just the 2 wheels that have to go across, and that could be any of the 2 wheels. The small caster wheel there, or one of the bigger ones, or both of the small ones. It doesn't matter, as long as they can get themselves across that line, and that's what records the score. Chalman just needed some technical support, so he's got his team personnel out to help him. The Paralympic party has started from the first day, and now this, as we are into day 7 overall of these Paralympic Games and the first day of the wheelchair rugby competition. Aoki has got some good blocking in front of him. So this sport, a combination of a number of different elements. You'd say that there's even the element of American football in it. You can see those sleeves for Aoki. You do so much work even with your elbows and your forearms rather than equally your hands sometimes to control yourself, depending on how you have the ball possessed when it's in your control. So every player with a different style preference, and equally their limbs longer or shorter, and just needing to just give themselves the adequate protection required. There's now substitutions coming in. It's Aoki out there with Butler, Wheeler, and McBride. And for the French, it's Nankin, Chalman, Hivernat, and Christophe Seligui. So not until they touch the ball does the actual clock start. And it's a full 40 seconds allocated. You see it now just under, coming up to 30 seconds. This is good work coming right across from France. And Jonathan Hivernat just drives his way into the opening. No sense waiting around. They haven't been able to convert every time they've had it. So you see an opening, make it happen. And you'll see that reluctance sometimes from athletes, thinking as though there's always going to be a better chance later. It isn't always the case, is it? Well, there's no time like the present, or when you see your window to try and strike, advance the ball, or equally to muscle your way into it. The feed now. They're boxing the Americans, just trying to keep France under wraps. Good pass over the top and into number 13. There's Christophe Seligui, and that's a well-executed play. And you can see just the studied approach from their coach. This is Kusin just thinking about how they can break this American side down. So the nickname for wheelchair rugby, it has been called by many, murder ball, and I think that was probably, you're going to see that evolve as a nickname. They're saying it's really more combat chess with bumps and bruises. There's a little bit of the hallmark for it now. Murder ball, I think, will always stick. It was invented by the Canadians in the 70s, and then the Americans picked it up, and then it went to Europe And its first stop was in the UK. And then it's officially been an IPC sport since 1994. And then a test event in 1996 in Atlanta before it became officially sanctioned as a Paralympic Games sport in 2000 in Sydney. Inside the last minute of his opening period. Driving away, we've seen really good control. This again from Hivernat, the captain. And that's a nifty bit of driving as he provides all of the power and equally that great control. He cycles back against the grain and just takes what is given to him. The advancement up to Aoki. Nankin's going to stay with him. Does well. You see the big bumper on Nankin's wheelchair. With that mobility, that 360, just to re-loop back. A very effective tool. And they're going to try and control the remaining seconds in this opening period now, the Americans. They'll want to convert it with a score as well before the clock counts down. And then under 10, they're going to have to move quick. Aoki's trying to hold. He takes it across for another score. That takes him now officially to 7 goals. There's the 3 scores. Butler has 1 and Puderbaugh has 5. So soon, that was the long intended play, hoping as though they could fast break. But it will go the length of the floor, and with 2.2, the inbound now coming. There's the need for some technical support out there. This is on the Nankin chair.
Quick wheel change and French number 3, Sylvain Nankin.
So the referee just making sure that they've got everybody in alignment. There's not going to be any infringements of time violation for the Americans in those positions. And again, they are in discussion, just wanting to make sure that they have got things set up properly. And you're hearing the horn sounding. And I think that's a fair call because it went all the way down the floor and it left the other end. So the inbound is going to come from the far end where the Americans, that's their defensive try line. And with 2.2 seconds, this might just be a formality. And again, just getting everything set. I think they're happy now, the referees. It's back in. There it is. It's touched, and the clock will, in fact, count down. And it has been an impressive start to this tournament for the Americans. They are the #1 ranked team by the International Wheelchair Rugby Federation coming into these Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. And the opening period provides the Americans with a 14-9 scoreline over France at the end of 8 minutes. Defensive fouls, both of them committing them, and the penalties very similar. It's the 5 turnovers though from France that has just given a little bit more of the loose play to the Americans to go and convert. And then Puderbaugh, you saw just how effective he was with those fast break passes from Aoki. So that's secondary scoring. You'll have a top player that can really provide the lion's share of the offense, but it's that depth and quality you need as well in wheelchair rugby, just like in any sport. Ready to start this second period. The Americans up by 5, and the ball ready to come inbound. This is the Carioca Arena number 1. There are 3 of them inside the Olympic Park. It really is well constructed, the entirety of this sporting complex. On an internal lagoon. From here, we are some 35 kilometers away from Copacabana Beach, the world famous, and Rio's sort of center area towards Christ the Redeemer and equally up Sugarloaf Mountain. But it is going to be the first attempt to score from France. Just looking to see what the referee has called on this play. And once they come up on the screen, the initiative to shine the light on these Paralympic Games has really been successful. It's been outstanding. They have dubbed this to be the second most successful Paralympic Games behind Beijing in 2008. And that really is some good going. Just under 2 million tickets sold for the entirety of this competition. That's across 23 different sports. But the quick advancement there from France, that was a violation from the American defender, Seth McBride, that led to that change of possession. And here is McBride now scoring, coming right back. He's got his first goal of this match. So inbounding it, they're against time as well. Jarland with the play into Riyad Salem. He's just trying to carve a route through and around as he found the daylight he needs. He has. And again, you just watch him. He likes to play a physical brand, but equally that is a tax on the body. And he's just showing you his skill and his power right now as he gets himself a 4th one. Trying to muscle the American player out of the field of play if they can. The whistle blown there. Now Gumbert just having a chat with his team, trying to make sure that they understand their options in that situation. They have half timeouts and full timeouts. 30 seconds and 60 seconds. They just used one now, the Americans. That was just the quick 30-second variety. Steady build up and an option long. Salem will come in. And the offload though, the Americans are just creating through speed that opening, and it's to Wheeler again. So he puts himself on the board. And that's his first. So McBride won, Wheeler won, and Butler. It's Salem who has 4 for the French. Here he is again. And he's got the ball in his basket. That's his lap. And he scores another one. So 5 for him now. But it's 5 points, the advantage for the United States. This is good control coming around the end. It's a little bit of a blocking formation ahead. And this to be taken by Josh Wheeler for another score. The combination really, this wheelchair rugby, it's a hybrid between a number of sports. There's an element of handball, basketball. Equally, you could say there's American football included in this one, and also a little bit of ice hockey as well. But the name wheelchair rugby is the best description for a combination of a number of those elements. You can obviously pass the ball forward as opposed to it always needing to be a lateral. And that obviously makes the sport work, be difficult. It was always reliant upon a backwards pass, but they've got to have a bounce. They've got to have a pass every 10 seconds, and here just well fed forward, that breakaway. And the United States, again, is into the hands of Seth McBride. And both McBride and Wheeler just trading scores for the United States. And Salem goes down. You can see those chairs, aren't they? Well, they just reflect the amount of contact that they take. They're like little mini tanks. They're heavier, And it isn't as easy, obviously, when you get onto your back, because these are heavier overall chairs, and they're an extension of the athlete. In order to get back upright again, it's a greater challenge than the wheelchair basketball chairs. Heavier in construction in order to protect the athletes. So you can make contact. It needs to be from the front. You can do it from behind, but if you come in and catch somebody from behind, you can be assessed with a foul. It all depends how you engage the other chair. But generally behind that axle point is deemed as a violation. 10 seconds without the bouncing or passing of a ball, and that's happened a few times. Those are frustrating changes of possession for France. They can't afford those. So substitutions coming in. Nankin now in. And we're saying Louisier as well. They're number 1. He's a 39-year-old. So Nankin, and you have 11 as well, Jonathan Hivernat. And 10 is Bento Anastasio, who's into the game. That's his first minutes. Can they take this one? They do. The Americans are just finding it a little bit too easy. They had a half dozen lead, and then they come out off of that timeout and immediately go and score. McBride just starting to build up his goal tally. Well taken, this across the line. All of the hard work from the United States to get back into a defensive position. And this for Hivernat, just gonna have to circle back on himself. He's got a shadow though, and it's an American one, just mirroring every one of his moves. You generally see 3 defensive players in that scoring area, and then one just out trying to be the point of the attack, making sure that they can kind of force the ball carrier. This brings a timeout. That's an important hold there by US. They don't allow that play to come around the end, and if the offensive player hits that post that's just temporarily in position, it actually is deemed as out of bounds, and that's what happened there. The use of the timeout was forced upon Hivernat, and they've got a couple of each, the full minute and then just the quicker variety of 30 seconds. So underway again. They stay with the same shot clock, 10 seconds. They're going to try to barge through, but they've got a real log jam there. And the American player leaves the field of play, trying to hold the French from scoring. And there's a need just for some support. I think he's needs his chair looked at. He needs a new wheel. So it's a defensive foul against Scatterow. And Scatterow, because he leaves the field of play. He ends up with a penalty. And right now, it's the need just for an adjustment for Hivernat on his wheels. That happens a lot here. And you'll hear them actually explode. Just the inflation in those rims and in those frames. And they will sometimes just pop like a balloon. Everybody enjoying their moment up on the screen. It has been a real feel-good event in these arenas. It's been the wheelchair basketball. It's now gone across the major arena, the biggest one in Rio, the indoor complex in this park. It's the Rio Olympic Arena. And that's now where the wheelchair basketball will continue. And this for the rugby, they will back across the line. Now France take that score. And the penalty that was assessed against Scatterow, you get a minute for a violation until the other team scores, and then you're permitted back into play. So they were 4 against 3 there, France, against the Americans with the disadvantage. Stop them right in their tracks. Good contact again. 2 hits and a third one just to put some body pressure, but have they opened it up here? Trying to get on the right side of where the ball might be released from. And France with a good half-court press. well controlled again by the United States. Across the line, that is McBride who will score. But if they can try to get into the offensive half and put some pressure on the United States, that's where you got to get to before they open up their speed. But it's a 7-point differential. And for France, they're having to work extremely hard now. 12 seconds in which to get it over the line. They may have just done it in time. They have. And here, wheeling for a 1-point glory. Oh, they get held up enough in the chair, but Cedric Nankin will score. That's a great offload to Nankin, who's in the position to support what looked to be the end of the road for the French in that advancement. So Gumbert at the helm for this team now, just with the watchful eye on, and he has been. So the bronze that the Americans take in London, but they come in as the #1 team. So over this last Paralympic cycle, they obviously regarded by the International Federation as the top seed, but they came through a qualification tournament earlier in the year against the same French side. So it's always interesting just how it gets constructed, but the international rankings for wheelchair rugby, now the top teams in the world, they have a list of 25. But this is a sport that's growing in popularity all the time, and more nations wanting to take part. This, though, the elite group of 8. New Zealand, Belgium, there are other teams as well that aren't here at this competition that are very capable in this sport. The offload, though, the Americans into a good position. They are just trying to get away from the defense. They do find it again, and one more time, it's Josh Wheeler, the 36-year-old. France with that long pass over that center line. That's a better use of time and space up to Hivernaut. And he's taking the lion's share of the offensive possession right now. He's been out here the most, and he has 3 points, but when Riyad Salam has been out there, he, in his short order, scores 5. So it's about cultivating also the next generation of talent as well. In this sport, players into their 40s is less common, but it's still very much a possibility. As that one will just get away, and both teams just with some substitutions now coming in. The Americans, as always, enjoying their moments of success. High fives abound coming down the bench. But it'll be an inbound right in front of their own bench, trying to get it in here. And Aoki back out onto the floor. And new personnel for the United States. This is their number 20, Josh Brewer. He's a 21-year-old. So that's his first goal. So a little bit more of a spread across. Now it's officially 6 different scores, and he's going to get another one here. There's Brewer right back again. Aoki with the good sights locates him, and Brewer is a 3.5 classification. And this his first opportunity at Paralympic level as far as the Paralympic Games. Oh, and he's picked it off again. He's been hot. And he's got a strong move now towards the goal line. He does the steal. He provides that. He equally comes up and provides the score. So that's the way to start, with 3 quick goals. And it's our first look of seeing him at this level. He's got the nod of approval. He says, that's just the way I like it, and it's just the way I'll do it, coach. They're pumped up, the Americans. They've really opened up the score now. They're ahead by double digits. And France need to have a little bit of a rethink. So you look at Salam there as he's in the timeouts, and interesting story for him. He was born without both legs and hands. That was as a result of his mother being given the sedative drugs, thalidomide, while she was pregnant. He is incredible. What an athlete. And he just shows you his body control. He plays with reckless abandon. You haven't quite seen it yet, but you'll see it more and more. Maybe a little bit of age as well, something where he's just playing with a little bit more of an even keel. You'll see him take it right into areas that often he has no business going, but he can find a way in which to get around defenses or equally barge right through them. But they're just trying to find a way to break this American team down, as the States have been systematic so far. They have a man in the box. That is, you're looking at Chuck Melton, who's taken a defensive foul. He's been out for 6 minutes. And that actually, 6 minutes in time, he's been on the floor. Salem just 6 minutes as well, and he's got the ball. They need to be ready for the re-entry out onto the floor of Melton, and that's why he was deliberate about scoring. So 9 points is big because it's 9 different individual possessions, as opposed to in wheelchair basketball. Here he is again. He's been great since coming on, Josh Brewer. He's up against the veteran, and he'll give him as rough a treatment as he can, but he's pretty slippery there. Slides through, and he's as slick as a whistle. There he is again, Wheeler. That's how to make short work. He's been out for 2 minutes total, and he's already got the 4 goals. So you talk about it. I think he had the natural hat trick there. 3 consecutive scores for his side. And I think he may be on a 4th one, as he really has been doing the lion's share of it. There is Salem, who's just going to take this the full length of the floor. Leaves that for the official. And now it's a half dozen for him. You see his long dreads there as he tucks into his jersey, and it's an official rule, I believe, so you can see his name and his number more clearly. It's one of the things these athletes, depending on their sitting position, where their number is on their jersey, you have trouble seeing it. So sometimes they'll wrap their jersey around the back of their chair. There he has to tuck in his dreadlocks so that you can see his name and easily identify him. But I don't think you're going to confuse him. He is pretty distinctive, is Salem. He's on the ball right now, forces the passing play from the United States. And now all the way back, it'll be taken by their number 20 again. Josh Brewer is very impressive. He looks like the next generation of American talent to come through. And it's not until you get to these grand stages sometimes where you really see just that access point of where maybe there's a changing of the guard. Aoki is an outstanding player, but to have the running mate of both Puderbaugh and Brewer in his flanks, that makes the depth for United States. But scoring, this time it's Salagui. So that's his 3rd goal. And inside the last minute of this opening half, it'll be taken by the U.S. This is Newby. So is he going to get his opening score? He's just trying to benefit from that cross block, and it's been stripped. Salem with the hand in. Forces it, but over top, they're going to really need to get under this one quickly. They're not going to count it. They're going to say that the wheels had crossed the goal line before the ball was in control. And that's exactly what it is, as it'll be an inbound now for France. So that's logged as a steal for Aoki. And that's pretty obvious right there. The referee in great position does not allow that to be recorded. So 3 of those now for Aoki, because it was popped out by Salem and then it couldn't be gathered. And it was for Aoki before he released that pass. So they can work the clock from here now, France. Les Bleus, as you hear it being sung inside the arena. It's been great to just see the characteristics and the different cultures as always, at an international event, and particularly this one. He's going to run into some trouble here. I think he's going to run out of time. It goes to a possession arrow, as getting a hand on it there was Brewer. So you see the assessment by the referee, and the possession arrow is in favor of the United States. And that's the challenge you have when you're trying to get past these wheelchairs all on your own. You really need an option just to release yourself from the pressure. It's an impressive beard on Chuck Melton, the 38-year-old, as he gets the inbound in, but he will, it's almost an Abe Lincoln special he's got there. But it's 26 for the United States of America. France with 17 at halftime. This is Group B action in the wheelchair rugby from the Carioca Arena #1. And the match statistics: defensive fouls, more of them being committed by the Americans. They also have the benefit of the steals, but it's really about possession, and they've just had more weapons. 14-9 in the opening quarter was the score, and then 12-8 in that second quarter, and it leaves them with the advantage of 9 points at halftime. So a breather for both sides. They won't go to their changing rooms. It's only 5 minutes. They will just get themselves rebooted in front of their respective benches. And a little bit of entertainment here at halftime. We'll join you for the third quarter, coming right back at you. And some truly original entertainment at halftime. As you saw the use of the wheelchairs from the staff that, well, that's what they're charged to do, is to keep this crowd alive and well, and the focus on the Paralympic movement. It's been an interesting stat that Brazil, there are 40 million people that have an impairment in a country that's just over 200 million. I say just, I mean, you think of the numbers as far as percentage of people, but this the score in the wheelchair rugby, 26-17, United States over France. We are just getting ourselves ready for the second half, but the light most definitely being shone upon Paralympic sport as a result of these games, and it's been a good thing. And the attendances and the interest across the nation has been flourishing. But this for France, with this, they need a real flourish of a score of points here and need to be able to then hold the Americans as well, and that's probably the tougher part of the two. They can find a way to score, but they've fed it in, and they'll get the give and go. They'll get the opening score of this second half, and it's given to Hivernat, the captain. So he's got 4 now. But again, just a different look here. The Americans, they can just roll out another player. This time it's Eric Newby, 29-year-old, and he scores. That's his first point of the entire match, and the first one of the second half for the U.S. So there you see the entanglement between the athletes there. I think they're trying to get some separation. They're just holding in preparation to burst and to lose their defending marker. They could get into trouble though here, France. The 12 seconds could bite them. They need to be quick. They need to advance it. They're just gonna get it. That's a great play. Outstanding to have it executed into the hands of the driving Hivernat, and he just takes that one. It looked for sure like they were gonna run out of time on that play, and not to be. It was received in full flow. Sometimes that backing away, this is better. This is what you need to see from France. They've got a 2-on-0 here, all alone, and they've started well in this second half. As that is Salagui who will convert. He gets the steal, he gets the conversion for his 4th official goal. That's the term that they use rather than a try or point. We all understand, but it is a goal. They've done it again. Nankin's gonna come up with this. Well done by Nankin. He offloads it to Hivernat, and this for the United States. They could have their lead chopped down to a half dozen with this sequence. They're gonna back into range. Nankin needs to come out of there so he's not there for more than 10 seconds. This backwards movement has brought about the call for a timeout, and what you saw there from France is that they had attempted both sides of this attacking area and couldn't open. And there you have the discussion going on with their bench. 30 seconds only, just a reload, a reprompt, put another bullet in the chamber and see where they can fire this time. So it's in. They're going to need to work quick, well, quicker, as they still have half of the scoring allocation, or time rather. Could they come out? Could they go to the backside? The passing play, I think it is over to Hivernat, and it's going to be available. He'll take it, and they will score. So it is down to 6 points now, the differential. It was as much as 9. So this a 4-1 scoring quarter right now in favor of France. So this an interesting spell, but this they have found a way now, the United States, just to get away from this French defense. And it's Wheeler. He takes his moment. So Wheeler begins playing wheelchair rugby in 2007. I just love that movie Murder Ball. That was about the American and Canadian build-up towards the 2004 Athens Paralympics. All the way though, Hivernat. He'll take it. It was 2006 though for Wheeler. The result of a motorcycle accident left him with quadriplegia, and then getting involved in this sport, wheelchair rugby, in 2007. And at the Paralympic game qualification tournament earlier in Paris. This was in 2016. He's voted the best 2.5 classification player. The whistle, though, from the official, just assessing. So it's the U.S. just utilizing this opportunity for the full complement of players change, and they kind of lost a little bit of momentum there as the 3 points have been gathered by France in this third period. Naoki comes out, and then they go to Poudrebaugh again. This is the real 1-2 punch that has proven most successful so far. Aoki is going to try to ram himself, and it forced the defending player to leave the field of play. So they give the point to Aoki. It's deemed that if he didn't leave, that he would have, in his natural course, scored the point anyhow. Sometimes you see that as a penalty. It depends. It's the discretion of the referee, whether they think it's intentional or whether it's just by circumstance. That's a big hit from Poudrebaugh right into Nankin. That'll just unload the ball, though. Hivenat will come in. Aoki's trying to grip at him. That's the biggest hit we've seen so far in the competition, and Poudrebaugh just basically drops the needle right into Nankin, and he did unload the ball. And Aoki will just take this going forward. So that's the aggressive style of play that this sport is known for. And you see that real enthusiasm, that emotion that Poudrebaugh plays with. You saw it there, just with that extra bit of physicality. So the referee counting down, need to be quick. Avernau's got an option. That is to Salagui. There's the scoring throughout this match so far. And the scoring decently improving across the top three for France. But they've got just more in depth as the overall. You've got another couple players for the United States with 4 points after their top three. So that's the disparity that you see in the score line right now, but it's going to be United States to take this one down low. And the referee just clarifying a point with the Frenchman, Salagui, there in the scoring area. Aoki, he's going to come out deep, and he's going to try to time it with Poudrebaugh, number 22, who's gone to the far side. He just provides the battering ram, a little bit of an opening. He is the light on the dark that was that French defense, and he opens it up, and the Americans get credit for another one. So you'll see the sacrifice that is one of the players generally, depending on how the opposition is formalized. You can use each other where one tries to break away and become the fast break option. In that situation, sometimes it's just as you saw, the battering ram of the lead guy giving space for the second one. And more often than not, it's the second mouse that gets the cheese after the sacrifice of the first player coming in. But this right back for Salagui, he's got 5 points now. Aoki advancing it to Poudrebaugh. He's just waiting for it to come over the top. And that's almost like going for a 40-yarder, except it wasn't quite as long as that in American football. Just watching it over your shoulder and timing it right. So he's got 6 goals now. And that's right in amongst the leading scorers, has Poudrebaugh in this matchup. It's slow developing. They've got time. They make a great play. Ivernat has been a real option on these long passes. Nankin comes in, and there's a little smash up. And he'd seen just what Poudrebaugh had brought to the party, and he thought he'd just lower the boom on him. Nankin, with his university education in management, started playing the sport in 2011. And it was Riyad Salam that got him involved in it. And Salam is a real ambassador for Paralympic sport. This from Aoki, he's going to get there in time. As I say, he was a part of the French national side in wheelchair basketball first, before transitioning across into rugby. And he's a part of the overall development of this game in the Paralympic committees, these individual national Paralympic committees. that just makes sure the sport is growing and going in the right direction. That this is going to be Hiverna again with the lion's share of ball time, floor time, to just utilize. And he's going to have to just, thought the option maybe was come across Nankin. Nankin is that tank that comes through and makes life difficult for Pudaba, but he's got a damaged wheel from that last contact. He's indicating to the official, and they're going to need to come out and attend that quickly. So this is pit lane. So just seeing maybe more of an adjustment on one of the bearings or on the wheels there. You can see just that protective plate across the back of the wheelchairs. Just that's an area obviously where they can be targeted from, but this is a releasing pass all the way up and well taken. Another new score for the United States. That's Chad Cohn, number 12. He's a 1.0, 33 years of age, and he's been a part of this program now for a while. So he's one of these faces that you'll recognize on the American lineup from their last Paralympic Games competition. It's really impressive to watch. Both Puderbaugh is new, and Brewer, just how well they've influenced this game offensively today. And you still have the mainstays of Wheeler and McBride, just protecting your nucleus and also cultivating your future at the same time. That's the hallmark of any good program. He did just well enough to stay in the center line. That contact almost forces him back across that center line, which would be over and back like it is in basketball. Not to be, as it's advanced quickly, and Aoki is just awaiting with those very comfortable hands. And he records it. So all the way down, Hiverna again with the point. Nankin, strong, protects that ball, has both of his arms on it, and then lays it off. But you see he enjoys the physical part of the game. He's got a heavy torso, thick shoulders on him. I bet you he's probably the best part of about 170 pounds, maybe even. Just the way he's constructed. Maybe not quite as much as that. He's a double amputee, but it's interesting how he uses his strength in that chair. So rather, Nankin was born with underdeveloped limbs. Well, that was congenital. But he's just a big body that helps open up the offense for France. Can this be tracked by Aoki? He's going to do well to get there, and it's just beyond his grasp. He's crossed that line first, and Aoki, an interesting story. He was born with a rare condition named hereditary sensory and autonomic neuropathy, and that just affects his ability to feel his hands and his arms and his legs and his feet. So you talk about how capable his hands are. Well, that's with the challenge that he faces, but it really isn't an issue. He is one of the best in this sport, and he sees it as an opportunity. And they come in here officially, this American side, as the top nation in the world in this sport. So nothing really stands in his way. This for France. They are within 8. They've had it as close as 6. And it's now cut to 7. And Hiverna really has taken over as the lead player offensively for France today so far. And you've seen a really dominant Salom before, but he's contributed as the secondary player. Only has come in, and when he has come in, he has stolen the show. But it's a little bit of the changing of the guard going on with Salom, 46 years of age. It's about developing the next wave, and Hiverna is 25. It's his time. But there, of course, it'll all come down to performance. Right now, though, the Americans are just showing that depth and quality. I'm not sure that this is going to be easily navigated to come back. They haven't made many mistakes They've kept a very efficient style of play. And it's 4 Frenchmen now coming up to attack this scoring area. Working to get to an opening, he does it. Hivernat will score again. And now he's taken himself to a baker's dozen. 13 total points, a fast break though. And just while you're celebrating your moment, the Americans are clinical. They've taken that fast break, and it's right there available for Newby. He's just trying to draw a couple French defenders with him. And he crosses the line with those opening 2 wheels. And that brings about just a moment now to take a breather as they'll come out of this set. Inside of a minute now remaining in the 3rd quarter. And America just holding firm. Nankin comes through as the first option. They wait though for Salagui. He's going to drive it right through the middle of the floor, and he'll score again. So this an important sequence, but can they have a defensive sequence? That's what France needs right here. There's some of that ball play and ball management earlier just coming back to be reflected on this scoreboard. Right now, can they hold? Chuck Melton with the Abraham Lincoln beard. He gets it across to Josh Brewer. And Brewer, he's as calm as I have seen a wheelchair rugby player. He's a youngster. He doesn't want to get pushed across this line. No, he offloads it just in time. And that's utilizing this full allocation of seconds. And he's going to try and gun it to get through in an area. It's a little bit too late, though. Maybe a little too casual there by the Americans. But they are in firm control of the score. They are up by 7 points. And at the end of 3 periods, there is the exact score. It's the United States of America 38, France 31. And this the first of the matches in Group B in the wheelchair rugby. And the statistics, turnovers, France 3-1, committing the majority of them. 12 of the 16 that have happened in the game so far. The penalties are really negating. There really isn't much of a scoreline or a difference in the stat line there. It's just coming down to taking your chances and making the most of them. You don't see the turnovers, you don't see the violations there on that particular stat column, and they've done that a few times today. France giving it up for 10-second violations or just little things that have turned the ball over. The 4th period awaits, and the United States with a 7-point advantage over France. Can they hold and perform true to expectation? They are the top team, defending bronze medalists from London 4 years ago. In the World Championships, they are also in 2014, that was a bronze medal. So are they a gold medal hopeful though? As Aoki will take this across the line. And it's an easy score for him. So a simple game, if you're just tuning in, is wheelchair rugby. It is quite, I think, easy to understand, but there's nothing easy about the sport. It is fully robust, and you're always constantly having to work in order to create advantage, to advance the ball, and equally try and negate the prowess of your opposition. It's been a little too much for the French to control the mighty United States so far. But this isn't over by any means yet. Oh, well done. Just riding the rail, coming right back down again. This is number 5, Rudolph Jarlon. Haven't seen a lot of him today for France. And they have left the field of play. It's the United States, I believe, who just goes over that goal line. Just waiting for the call. So you see it leaving the court is what the referee is indicating there. So it's Chad Cohn who gets the defensive foul. So you see just the 3 Americans now out, and this will be taken across and converted this time for the French. And back to 4-on-4 play. The long feed up. The balance point not quite there for that first intention to pass it. This will be picked up into a traffic area, though. It's Hivernat who reads it, takes it, and he's saying he needs a technical timeout. Something's gone wrong with his left wheel there. So he's turned that and grabbed it into his possession. I think the lug nut just gets out. He would have felt it obviously by his movement, and that was the only indication. Tough to tell from our vantage point, but they are back and underway again now, our France. So France wins that third quarter, 14-12. It's the opening 2 that they concede, though, 14-9 and 12-8. And this is better as they just nose ahead in the scoreline in this fourth quarter, but still, it's a 6-point differential, and this has been about the range. It's just while they're celebrating, Aoki has gone all the way, but he can't control it. It does get away from him. And now France could hem them back to 5 with this sequence. Gumbert, pretty calm over there, but you see him asserting himself. And there's the best reflection there visually to see the numbers that I was just relaying. But this, for France, if they could get it to 5, it starts to become realistic. Hivernat has been great in this matchup. He's been consistently managing the scoreboard, his possessions. He's got 15 now. He's the overall top scorer in this match between the 2 sides. The top for the Americans is Aoki, but they just have so many other scorers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different scorers for the United States, and then Aoki comes right back. And there's 6 for France. And that's just, it's a small thing, but it's everything. Just those different layers of secondary support. Depth of quality. Hivernat. So Hivernat is a classified player. His classification is a 3.0. So if you have him on the floor with Salem, who is a 3.5, then you're at 6.5. You only have 1.5 remaining. And they haven't got a 0.5. So that's why they do. They have Adrian Chalman is a 0.5 and then a 1.0. It would be Pablo Newman, but we haven't seen him yet. So it's the only way you could get those 2 out there together to try and mute this American attack. But every time they look as though they've brought it within range, Aoki just seems to find a way just to open things up. And this will go across for the score. So turned over and then converted. So 8 points, the maximum. If they have a female on the field of play, they can have 8.5. We've seen, we have the Brits with a female player. And that's the way the sport is currently designed. There's only a handful in this tournament, and it's a pretty robust and physical game. And of course, women can handle that as well. But for the most, it's a pretty heavily male-dominated sport, is wheelchair rugby. So Wheeler's got himself 5, and he sees himself as one of those secondary players providing the offense. And he's done that consistently. So that gives him his little bit of return for all of his good defensive work that he's been executing for the United States. So they've taken their lead back again, and they've increased it up to 8 points. They've never lost the lead in this one. The U.S., they've always been in front, but that lead is changed in size. I think they've been pretty agreeable there to allow that score to count. It's going to be Adrian Chalman. It looked potentially as though he had his wheels go across that line before he received the ball, but you saw the acknowledgement from the American player, just accepting it that yes, that was the call, and there really isn't a whole lot of debating that goes on. It is the discretion of the referee, and they saw it otherwise. This now the Americans take it and score another one. So they just changed the ball there, you see. The ball just gets so sticky with all the players who use whichever form of adhesive they're most comfortable with their hands against the wheels and just the rubbing of the rubber against their hands, their forearms, and then equally it gets onto the ball, doesn't it? So just trying to make sure that this is a ball that has to be retained rather by the grip than it is by just the adhesive. And so there the replenishment or the replacing of the match ball. This a chance for Jarlon. Can he get it in? This is Luis Hier has come out. He has the 1 goal. Haven't seen a lot necessarily of him today. He's had 7 minutes of time. So we see the double 4s as the indication there. But substitutions now coming in for the United States and France as well. Nankin will come in. And then the number 13, Christophe Salagui. So coming up to the halfway point of the remaining quarter. If it was to tighten up, we would go to extra time, but that looks to be pretty tall order from here. It's still that 8-point difference, and the clock now really becoming the enemy of France. Salagui meets up with the American defense that just allow him access, and they had that 4 against 3. Now coming out is Scatero. So he's had a couple defensive fouls today. So he in the penalty box there, and now it's back to level play. Both teams will take a breather. Big substitutions though, as you see the Americans with wholesale changes. That just gives a little bit of respite for both sides. This, of course, the Paralympic Games from Rio and the first day of the wheelchair rugby. Gumbert pretty happy with his side's performance. He goes down and gives him a low 5. There's also the fist bump nowadays. It seems to be the way to communicate amongst your personnel. There he's got the youngster out again. Here comes Brewer. Really enjoy watching him play. Doesn't seem to be anything that he can't do out there. He's calm on the ball. He'll take these fast breaks. He's got speed. He's got great hands. Seems to have a good sense for how to distribute it as well. And he's already up as the first man on this press that they're applying. So you can have this aggressive press in the backcourt or equally play a zone defense. But even though the Americans are up comfortably, they are in a position just trying to create trouble. You see how fast his hands are. And it's forced France to have to call a timeout because they're running out of time in that 12-second allocation in which to get it over the halfway point. So they don't really need to go to the bench. It's only 30 seconds. What they just needed was to just get this American side back on their own half and allow them to advance this ball. So bouncing it to open up another 10 seconds. And the referee, just before he bounced it there, you can see he thought about maybe starting to count it out, but he'll be counting it in his head if he doesn't see a pass or a dribble. Nankin, that was going to be tough to receive it. It's been turned over. Here comes the Americans, the cross block provided by Brewer, and then it's Puderbaugh who will score it. So Corey Puderbaugh with 7 goals, a couple turnovers, 1 steal. And it's indicating he's just on 8 minutes. He's been a little bit more than that. The overall match was 32 minutes long in real playing time. Divided, of course, into 4 8-minute periods. But this now, Puderbaugh, you're not going to catch him from there. He's just got the strength aplenty. He throws that ball forward, and he'll just settle it down now. Ends up dropping up over the advertising hoarding. And Aoki, he may well be done for today. But it will depend on the next 40 seconds or so. If things change and France are able to score, maybe get themselves a turnover. But they're ahead by 9, taken here, and Selagui will convert that one. Whether we'll see Riyad Salom as well for France returning to the match. Very smooth and good vision. Throws the brakes on, allows the traffic to just drive on past, and then in these traffic areas, that's contested, and he thinks that's a victory. It is. Depends which way the possession arrow is going to be indicating. He gets both hands on that. That was Hivernap. And the possession arrow is in favor of France, so that works out well. Here comes Salom back out onto the floor. And Pablo Newman is also out there. So the young player in this particular matchup, it is the youngest player that we have, is Corey Puderbaugh. He is 20. Josh Brewer is 21. So they're part of the new wave of the Americans. But here part of the old guard. Here comes Riyad Salom. Just really still great speed, movement, control, you name it. He's got it. He puts it across the line for another goal. Always enjoyable to watch and entertaining. A real character of the sport. And just a real kind man as well. If you're ever to meet a wheelchair rugby player, they are as humble and as level as you would want to know. And they play this game. They accept the possibility and the breaking down probably more rapidly of the body in this particular game. But saying that, you're seeing Salom right into his 40s. Just whether or not everybody, as they get into the 40s, still has the hunger to want to be into this sort of physical contest. And there is Salom. He basically upends Puderbaugh. Puderbaugh just drops the needle, tries to get as close to him as he can, but he doesn't have the body weight that Salom has. And that contact is going to leave him just sailing away and in a full roll and onto his back. He needs the help from his personnel. You see them wiping the floor, obviously, as well, to make sure that there isn't any needless slippage. And you saw as he was just up on his couple wheels there, just trying to ride the rails. Became a little bit of an issue for him. Hivernat, he's done his work, 16 points. That leads both sides. Just one ahead of Aoki, who has the 15 for the U.S. So 1 minute and 41, 7 points. It would take some real doing from here. I think the United States knows that they are in good position. Just need to not panic at all. And you've seen that already in this competition. From the expected teams to do well, the Australians just trying to keep calm. And this man, he is a level head for a first time wheelchair rugby Paralympian. So this is all going on, and we're following Salom that he doesn't have the ball. The ball is actually down the other end of the floor, and they're trying to just keep him under control so he's not able to influence things. It is already in a good position. Josh Brewer was waiting for Salem. He knew that he had this under control, so he didn't need to really panic much. And it was all of this athleticism going on and the propelling around in the backcourt. That's the power. And again, they're still working, trying to just keep an eye on Salem, as he's going to be an option. It's just touched off the American's hand, and that was Brewer who got a touch of it. He really loves to go for a drive, does Salem. He's just trying to get rid of his defending the American and his Puderbaugh on him, and they're giving as good as they can get, and it almost seems to have lit the flame of Puderbaugh because he went in to try to hit Salem and he got upended. So that sparks kind of a different competition within this match of, can these two physically go up against each other? They can't get to him. Look at him. He's a big body. He's as nimble as they come, though. He effectively throws the brakes on there and locks down with the A-locks. And then he comes back against the grain. And it's Seligwe who's going to benefit from all of that good work. And here now Brewer the other way. Very smooth, very comfortable. And from here, as soon as you shunt him, he's really going to just go across the line for the score, and he does. So 9 points is the tally today for Josh Brewer. So across it's Aoki 15. Then it's Brewer at 9, Puderbaugh at 8, and Wheeler at 6. They are the top scoring 4. And for France, the top scoring is Jonathan Hivernap. He's the captain, 16. Then Seligwe, 10. And then Riyad Salem has 9 points. And then the next highest is 2. So leaving the field of play, that's the contact with the marker there, as you see. And they're just trying to keep an eye. You see how battered these wheels are. They have been through the trenches, through the rucks, the mauls. In this particular sport, it's just the contact directly from the other wheelchair that does most of the damage. There's a hit, and then a cross block coming in. It's still going on between Puderbaugh and Salem. And I think they're just having their own fun, keeping an eye on one another. This is Brewer, who's got 2 Frenchmen on him. And then there'll be changes now. Coming in, Melton has come in as Aoki. And number 10 as well, Josh Wheeler, veteran player this side, 36 years of age. He's had 6 points today. 6 goals, officially the term. It's inside the last 10 seconds. This the remaining chance. Can they make something of it? Melton will pass it forward on his own. Aoki will get the score. It's across for officially a half century of points. It's 51 that they will finish on as a result of that Aoki score. So all but the third quarter, the Americans win each one of them, and they'll go away in the end with a 9-point win. The United States of America 51, France 42. This is the first match in the preliminary round in Pool B. So Gumbert pretty pleased with his team's opening effort. They'll all shake hands and acknowledge as good sports as they are, good sportsmanship. Great game from Puderbaugh. You can see it in his eyes. He loves to compete. He's got that hunger and thirst for it, and he certainly loved that physicality going up against one of the, well, the real legends in this Paralympic competition in wheelchair rugby, but he did it as well at wheelchair basketball in the early part of the 21st century, and equally all the way back to 1996 in Atlanta. There he is, just leaving the screen, and there are the hands with the fist bumps. The French crowd enjoying it in great support as always. The Americans, though, start the stronger of the two. they come and take care of significant business. They will get a victory from their first 32 minutes of action in Rio. The full support and the acknowledgement of that from the Americans equally to the French. It is one of the characteristics of Paralympic sport. We have seen this relationship growing and the appreciation of one another increasing. Hey, Renat, a great game. The changing of the guard, you can see it in France. He was outstanding. Just need a little bit more depth, I think. But this is just the start as they'll cool down and debrief each other in this little bit of a circle here. The Americans, they're looking good. Will they come through as one of the top two sides in this group? And Salam right over. He loves to be in amongst the people. And the USA chant coming from the American side. Here comes the slam of the ball. This is a signature thing that they do. Boom, it's up and down. And the full goatee as well, the red and blue. That's just what they do. It's becoming a thing. The Americans enjoy it as well. The leading scorers on both sides, and that really indicates that maybe France had the nose ahead, but there was just so much other scoring from the Americans that gave them the advantage of the 9 points that they record in this victory. 8 steals, that's an impressive mark for the United States. The turnovers, though, 10 more given up by France. That really is the telling stat in the entire look at just what went on in those 32 minutes. It's about efficiency and ball possession and game management. The United States will take it 51-42 over France. And so this, the only match played so far in Pool B. That puts them right to the top. Still obviously Japan and Sweden to come up in day one play in the wheelchair rugby. But you only had 3 matches in this preliminary round. You really have to make hay and make them count.
Tiveram alguns errinhos aí dos dois lados e a pergunta foi exatamente essa. É porque é um jogo de estreia e vocês estão meio assim, tem algumas correções ainda para serem feitas no time.
And what's it like to be on a team that met in every single Paralympic Games? Do you feel the pressure coming into Rio 2016?
I don't know if it's necessarily pressure, but we have scared to get anyone to. Our goal every time we go to this event. So we know it's something very outstanding, and that's the first time I can face.
Match number 2 in the wheelchair rugby comes from the Carioca Arena at number 1, and it was a Pool B matchup. This, the Americans, who are number 1 ranked in the sport of wheelchair rugby by the International Federation. They come in and take care of business against France. It's a final score of 51-42. They go top of the group. Still lots more action to come up in day 1 in the preliminary round.